All right, let's do it. Episode 26 of the Former Action Guys podcast. I'm your host, as always, Justin Kramer. So, this week I have Tracy Offutt back on, and we get into a bunch of topics. We catch up. It's been a little bit since we've hung out and stuff. So, we recorded this a couple weeks ago, but today, or you should, if you're subscribed, you're seeing this Monday morning after the Super Bowl. So, congrats to the Chiefs on their victory. I'm not really a huge I'm not a fan of either team, so I'm not going to jump on a bandwagon and be like, oh, hey, I've been following these guys. I haven't really watched NFL since 2007 when Indianapolis Colts beat, I think, the Bears. After that was kind of like when I first got in the Marine Corps, and then I started getting busy after that, so I just kind of fell off of it and quit watching it. Like, I'll sit down and watch a game, but I don't really follow anybody. Kind of like baseball, I'll sit down and watch it, but the Braves are my team. But, it's not something I keep up on. Unlike my dad or somebody, who does, like, fantasy sports. He has multiple leagues. He's, juggling and doing that. I couldn't do it, but, it's not for me. But some people like it. Anyway, so, again, congrats to the Chiefs on their victory. Cool. Good on you guys. And, yeah. What else is going on? Oh, hey, like I said, if you're subscribed, you're going to see that this is coming out on Monday rather than Thursday. So what my plan is if I have an extra episode recorded, I'd like to drop a second one per week so that they're not sitting and getting stale, if we talk about a more recent topic. So I had this one recorded. I'm supposed to be recording another one, so that should be my next one for this week. So I figured I might as well drop, first one for the second one in a week. Might as well be Tracy Offutt. And we get into, like I said, a bunch of topics and stuff. We talk about my road trip for a little bit, and we talk about just crazy stuff. So, hey, enjoy. If you have any questions or anything, hit me up on Former Action Guys podcast at gmail.com or J Kramer Graphics on Instagram. That's Kramer with a C, or jkramergraphics.com. All right, later. So, how you been?
Good, and yourself?
Not bad. Just got back from Indiana and went and saw family and stuff like that. Spent 3 weeks. I booked a trip. I was like, fuck, I'm going to go home for 3 weeks. And then I was like, why am I spending 3 weeks at home? Because that's a lot of time.
Yeah, that's a long time
to be surfing home. Couches and stuff. And but it was good. Indiana was cool. I brought back 2 rifles. My uncle passed away like a year and a half, 2 years ago, I believe. Something I don't remember the exact time frame. And him and I used to go hunting and stuff. So he left me 2 rifles, 270s, a Ruger Mark II 270, and a Mossberg 270.
Oh, so that's cool.
Yeah, that's I brought those back, dude. I flew back. Have you ever flown with a gun?
I have, but I used to fly with them when you left them in your bag.
Oh, really?
As long as they weren't in your carry-on, you were good to go, because they didn't X-ray stuff back then. They just threw them.
Oh, huh. Yeah, now it's still, it's really not a big deal. You just show up, pop the case open, show them the weapon. Like, they're supposed to have you make sure it's clear, but you sign a document saying that it is clear. The lady that this time, she didn't have me show her that it was clear. But the first time I flew with one, they did. But and then they have you lock the case in front of them, and then they don't have the combo. Only you have the combo for the lock, and but it has to be a TSA approved lock, right? And then when I got the fucking rifle, so when you get to your destination, which was for me was here in San Diego, I landed and I had to go pick up my bags, right? And when you fly with a weapon, you have to go over to the security office to get your bag. They'll carry it straight to the security office and give it to you. And I was in there talking to a lady like this is American Airlines security office, and the dude comes over and sets the case down and just kind of walks off, and I go out there, and the case, dude, one lock was missing from one end. There was no lock on it, and the clasp was open, and I could see the buttstock of the rifle. Like, it was opened up. I said that to the lady. I was like, are you serious? I was like, what? I was like, it's missing a lock. And I was like, and it's open.
Yeah.
And I opened it up. You could tell, it looked like nothing was wrong with them and everything like that, and that they were basically like, sorry, like, that sucks,
Well, what's the process supposed to be? It's supposed to be I lock it, they transport it, and then I'm the only one that can unlock it. That way no one can get into it in between point A and point B.
Yeah, and it just has to be a TSA approved lock so the TSA can open it up to verify that it's cleared also. I think they probably, I assume that they do that with every one of them. But
so then they should close it back up, or?
So
do you provide the lock, or
I have to provide my own lock. So I lost a lock.
Oh.
So to get that back, the process, the TSA, it's not an online process to submit a claim. You have to print off a document, fill it out, mail it to them, and they said it could take up to 6 months. They also took my kid got a hoverboard for Christmas, and I was going to ship it back, but I was like, I had that suitcase. I bought that big ass suitcase while I was in Hong Kong, and because me and a dude were going to be flying from Hong Kong to Djibouti, and I needed enough room for two, so I had this big ass suitcase, and I was like, dude, I could fit my kid's hoverboard in it because he got one for Christmas from his grandma, his nana, if you will.
Yeah.
And if she's listening, she'll cringe if she hears grandma. But anyway, they took it. They took it out. Apparently, you can register it with them. You can tell them about it. I didn't know. Like, if I had known, I would have been like, hey, here it is. Well, but I just threw it in the suitcase, and they said it was because of... Well, they didn't say. I'm assuming it's because of the battery that was in it. But they didn't... And again, to submit a claim to get it back or get the money back takes 6 months. And you have to do it all...
So, they took the hoverboard?
Yeah.
And so now you have to do the claim, print off the
I'm not even going to do it. I'm just going to buy them a new one. It's not worth it.
Oh, man.
6 months, and they'll probably like receive the claim, be like, shit, someone actually sent a claim in, and like then they'll lose it.
Yeah,
let's be honest.
I'd make them go through the process anyways, just to be a pain. You know, I do that because I pay everything with a check and I put it in the mail.
Yeah.
And
really?
Yeah, I'm not.
Dude, I think I've used a check one time, like way back in the day.
Dude, I like to control my money. You know, like
no, I get that.
I don't like any.
You're comfortable with that way of keeping track of your money.
Well, that and the fact that I don't like them having access to your account. So you know how you, for example, Oceanside, the company that Oceanside uses for like say the water bill or whatever is out of LA, which actually a Chinese subsidiary company that owns that company that does the processing.
Oh, really?
So that company has access to your checking account because that's how they debit your checking account or whatever, right? And they got hacked, of course, like all those companies do. But once that money's taken from the account, then it's your responsibility to prove that you didn't take it or that that person didn't have authorization. So I went through this whole drama with I stopped using one company, and it was one of those automatic withdrawal things. I stopped, like say it was AT&T or whatever it was. I don't forget.
Yeah,
I don't remember. But anyways, I stopped with one, and they continued charging me. And so I went through the back and forth. Well, the bank says I got to contact them, and they say I got to contact the bank. And so I end up having to just close that account and open a new one that they didn't have. So now I don't let them have access to anything.
You know, at least with Navy Fed, there's an option to do a bill pay straight through the bank.
Exactly. That's way better.
But only my electric bill does that. I don't think anything else I have. I mean, maybe I can. I just haven't fucked with it.
So another way, and we've ventured off into a new subject. Another way I like is the companies that let you use the credit card. So like USAA will let you use your credit card to pay your car insurance.
That's every company.
Not everybody let you use your credit card.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of them want access to your actual checking account.
Oh, I know what you're saying. They're doing the ACH transfer.
Right. So they want checking account, that type of thing, not your credit card because you can turn that off or deny payment. But what's great about that is now I get the points. So I get the cash back for things that I'm buying anyway.
I do the same thing. People I don't think people that don't travel or who are not involved with credit cards don't understand credit. There are a lot of people that look at credit cards as like a thing that they don't want to mess with because they don't want to ruin their credit.
Yeah.
But they also don't look at it. They don't look at it like the tool that it can be for like traveling and stuff.
Sure. Yeah. You use it as a tool. Pay ahead. Excuse me. Pay ahead. My daughter did that. She just went to Australia for a buddy of hers wedding. And so she paid ahead. I think that whole trip, like $3,000 or whatever, plane tickets and all that. Paid ahead for a year. Well, actually, she put that in a money market account, got interest on it, and then right before she launched on the trip, bam, the thing was paid off.
Nice.
As soon as she made the plane reservations, hotel,
and that's a lot of points too.
Yeah, and then you get your cash back.
Where'd she go to? You said Australia?
Australia, yeah, the west side of Australia.
Geez, that's a lot of flight miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I use the Platinum Express card, the American Express Platinum card. Platinum Express, I don't know why I said that. I had that while I was in, and because while you're in, for the people that are military that don't know that, the American Express Platinum card, you get a ton of travel benefits with it. And while you're in, there's a fee, there's an annual fee on the card. But if you're active duty military, maybe even retired, I would have to check on retired.
Yeah, I'd look into
But active duty military, they waive the fee. So now you get all these benefits without having to pay the annual fee, which is like $500 or something like that.
Yeah, that's where they kill everybody is on the fee.
But it gives you like $200 in airline purchases a year. Like if you spend $3,000 in like the first 3 months or whatever, you get like you get like 50,000 points and shit. But what I'm getting at is I use that card for everything. Same thing. I use it for all my bills and shit like that because it's so good for travel. And then I turn around and use it to, like, I'm sitting on enough points right now. I'm trying to decide if I want to go to Europe or if I want to go to Africa.
Oh, dude, that's a lot of points. I'd be all over that.
Yeah, but it's really, I mean.
So what made you choose Europe or Africa?
So my cousin lives in Italy.
Okay.
And she lives in Milan. Her and her husband do. And they have like, hey, come visit anytime. Because obviously, she married an Italian guy. They met in Miami. They worked together.
Okay.
And then they ended up moving to Italy. And obviously, family doesn't go there, very often.
Yeah,
I think her mom and dad might have, or her mom might have been there. I'm not sure. Her dad's my uncle that passed away, actually. And, but anyway, so I can go there and hang out in Italy and have a place to stay. The flight's paid for. And I'll have a place to stay. And then I just have to buy food and, whatever else.
Yeah. And
even half that, they he manages a restaurant and she manages something else. Like they're wanting to open their own restaurant. Oh, they've been in the food service industry for like,
that's
years.
What they did before. Yeah.
Yeah. Working in like, she used to do club promotions and not promotions, but, she used to do, I don't know, like going to clubs and doing the mixologist shit, like making new drinks and doing stuff like that to help like build up a club and then going to the next one. Like they hire her to come places and do shit like that. And then he's a restaurant dude. So they're wanting to open their own place. So the food and stuff would probably be taken care of as well. But, I wouldn't assume anything.
Yeah, you don't want to mooch too much.
And then Africa, I would probably want to go to, there's a program and I haven't even, they put out something every once in a while, but I'd reach out to them when I make my decision or if I end up wanting to do it. But there's this program called VetPaw in Africa, and they're on Instagram under VetPaw, and it's it's an organization of veterans that go out and help protect the rhinoceros and stuff like that are being hunted by poachers. So I think it'd be cool to go out there and see if I can hook up with them and go like do some documentary work. Bring my camera, go shoot some photos, maybe try to get some video, and do some podcasts or something while I'm out there with those dudes.
That would be
come back.
Yeah, that I could see that. Yeah, that'd be good because
So it's like those both sound cool, right?
Yeah. Although I think the Africa thing sounds cooler. I'm not a vacation guy. I never have been able to like. What are you going to do when you get there? I don't know. Sit around and drink. Well, hell, I can do that at home a lot cheaper. So.
Oh, if I went to Italy, I'd be all over the place.
Yeah, you got to go see things and.
I just took 3 semesters of Italian in college, which I'm not fluent in Italian at all. So that means I'm going to go over there and probably look even dumber than I would if I didn't know any. But I'm all about like the Roman culture and shit like that.
Yeah,
and it's just such an old country. It'd be so cool to see and if I go, I want to go for like a week. I want to be there for a week.
Yeah, you got to be there long enough to actually see stuff.
Maybe move around, hit some hostels.
Yeah, and there's stuff to see. There's, you can go all the way back to the Colosseum, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And learn about that. But there's also World War II battlefields.
Yeah.
So there's a whole spread of things you could check out.
Yeah, and it's Europe. So once you're in Europe, you can jump on a train to basically anywhere, I think.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know, man. Those are kind of my options. That's what I'm kind of looking at. I've been saving points for like 2 years.
Damn.
Or something like that, maybe more.
So on the other subject that I was going to ask you about, so you moved up here from Oceanside.
Mm-hmm.
And
down here.
Or down here, yeah. We're south of where we were. So what do you think? What's the...
The apartment's way better. the apartment I had in Oceanside was cool, like we were talking about before. It was in a good spot because it was 3 blocks from the beach, like basically 3 blocks, 4 blocks maybe, and it was basically in downtown Oceanside, right outside the actual downtown area, so I could walk over there for like the farmers market and shit like that. But I didn't get screwed by the parking. Yeah, we were on the very edge of where all the events that happened down there. Only a few cars would park on our street for that event. So, and everything's within walking distance. So that's cool. That part of Oceanside was cool. Down here, it's just, this is better because the apartment's bigger. I got a 2-bedroom apartment, which I needed. And that place up in Oceanside, I got it as I was getting out of the Marine Corps. I was getting divorced, like all that was going on and shit. So I was like, I'm just going to get a place that's close to the beach, near the base while I finish up, and then I'll go from there. And now I'm down here at school, and I just got tired of driving the 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Like, damn.
Dude, it just sucked, man. Between like 40, 45 minutes. And if I had like a class that got out at like 5 or something, or around that time, it was just more than it'd be over an hour probably.
Yeah, you might as well have dinner down here and then go back to Oceanside.
Yeah, now I'm 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
So I could be like, oh shit, I'm running late, and if I'm still 15 minutes from my class starting, I will make it on time, and that's still parking and walking up to it.
It's not. Is it walking distance from here?
No, not the school. No, it's like it's a couple miles. I mean, it's probably you could probably bike it if you're into that. That's not it's not a short distance, but it's pretty close. But down here though, there's definitely not as, it's a little bit more hood feeling in this spot.
Yeah.
But like, it's cool. Like everyone out here is cool. Everybody I've met's cool. There's some shady stuff every once in a while. You'll see, it feels like outside, people don't pick up their dog poop, man. Like people let their dog shit everywhere. And the city doesn't maintain this spot. This spot kind of, so this is like, if you go out here and look at the sidewalks are cracked, and like, it's just, it looks fucked up because of neglect by not only like the people that live here, but there's an AT&T, huge AT&T building over here, or over there. And I walk my dog down there, man, and there's just trash. Like people throw trash out, and I know homeless people are putting trash out there.
Yeah.
But it just looks horrible, man. And I'm like, dude, if I owned a company, like, and this is how my front like area or it's like a half a block sized length of like lawn grass in front of their building. So it's pretty decent sized, for a city, and it's just got trash on it all the time. And it's like, dude, have somebody come out here and clean this up every once in a while.
I wonder if that's, so I just heard a news thing about the Sidewalks, San Diego city. So it's all convoluted because over the years they change the rules, and nobody ever really reads the rules.
No.
So it comes down to something along the lines of the city owns a sidewalk, but the homeowner, because there's an easement, also owns the sidewalk.
Oh.
So the city just said they're gonna.
Is that how it works? I thought you owned the part on the other side of the sidewalk if there was. How sometimes there's like that little grassy lawn kind of thing?
It's kind of each city has their own rules.
Okay.
The problem here in San Diego, was that it was $2,000 worth of fees from the city for you, the homeowner, to get the permits to fix the sidewalk in front of your house, which is dual ownership.
What?
Yeah.
$2,000?
Worth of fees. So we both own it. You and I own it. You're the city. I'm the homeowner.
That's
we both
fucked
own it.
up.
But I got to pay you to fix what you put in, because if somebody falls on the sidewalk or is injured, you, the city, can be sued. But me, the homeowner, can also be sued. And so, yeah, it's really convoluted. And that's
I've never
part
heard
of
that.
the problem of getting this stuff fixed.
That's the stuff you find out when you're a homeowner.
Yeah.
Do you own a home down here or up in Oceanside?
In Oceanside,
yeah.
But the rules there are different.
Yeah.
So they own everything from the edge out.
That's one of those things you learn a hard lesson. Yeah. You probably just, a lot of people are like me right now, like, holy shit, that's crazy.
Yeah, you can get sued as a homeowner for the sidewalk in front of your house if somebody falls off their bike and, whatever.
I know you have to maintain it as in, like, in Indiana, it's like keep ice off of it in the wintertime. Like, if it has to be shoveled, like stuff like that. But I don't know if they make them fix it. I think the city has to fix it in Indiana. But I'm not a homeowner, so I don't know.
I'm sure it's everything is local.
Yeah.
It's just like in our particular area where we live, we have an HOA. Mm-hmm. In the building of the homes that we live in, the HOA agreed to maintain the median on the main road on Douglas. Mm-hmm. As part of their deal, right? Well, who cares about the median? It's just a concrete thing.
Yeah.
But it had a bunch of plants and, decorative. So we were paying the water for the median, which belongs to the city.
What?
Yeah, so it became this big legal fight. And now they put down these fake brick-looking, the poor brick concrete thing.
Yeah.
And, of course, that buckles. Because it's done by the lowest bidder. So it's just big disaster. And you're like,
that's why I don't like government involvement in a lot of stuff.
I don't either, man.
Like some stuff I'm like, hey man, like I'm about it. Like I'm a pro, like, I don't know, law and order, kind of person. I'm not like I'm pro police officers and stuff like that. Obviously, I'm not pro like asshole police officers, but there's a lot of good police officers, and you and I both know a bunch of police officers. It just comes with being in the military.
It's a 99. It's a 99% rule. 99% are good.
Ceson's a cop down here. He just left San Diego City. Cop. Well, not just left, like a year ago, and he's a officer down in Chula Vista now.
Why did he move? Oh, I thought we talked about that. He moved to Chula Vista.
I think because they pay more.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was the only reason. And then Flores is a cop now in Colorado. His podcast, I recorded the podcast with him last week, but I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to release it. Well, his will come out before this one.
Okay.
Maybe not. I might release this one today or tomorrow, actually.
So what is your reason for waiting on his?
Because I did a bunch, and I released one last week, and then I have to release one this week. Well, part of one, I want to gap out some of the Anglico ones.
Okay.
Just because I don't want people to think that this is like an Anglico podcast.
Gotcha.
You know, because I know people that outside of Anglico, and actually me and Flores, when we talk, we don't talk about Anglico at all. Actually, we do his entire career except Anglico, and then because he got out right when he left, after he left Anglico, he talks about getting out and stuff, and then we talk about him going through 2 different police academies because he went through the sheriff, the Denver County Sheriff's Office Academy, and he worked in a jail for like over a year because that's how the sheriff's office works.
Yeah, yeah.
And he was like, "Fuck this sucks." So he got a project management job doing IT because he was doing at the same time he was doing school for IT. And then he's like, "This sucks too." Like he was doing like a project management job, doing probably decent money, working as a like a spectrum manager for the government as like a contractor, I think. And he was like, I don't like this. So he went back through another police academy, and now he's a police officer. Yeah, he started the first week of January. He's out on patrol. So
I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just getting to the point where like I don't want to go to another academy. I don't want to go to boot camp again.
Yeah,
that's what I said. I enjoy it.
No, yeah. How do you? Well, you enjoy it because you're a DI and shit.
But you have to be realistic too. I realized something the other day. I'm talking to a buddy of mine. He's used to work for Biltwell motorcycle company, and him and my son are buddies. And I'm like, damn, everybody I know is 20 years younger than I am, and I think of myself that way. But then you realize you're like, dude, I was already in the Marine Corps for 20 years before they even graduated high school. Yeah, and so you kind of.
What year did you join?
80. I joined the Army in 83 and the Marine Corps in 86.
83, that's when I was born.
You see? So you have to be realistic. Like, you still think you can do,
Yeah, I mean, you probably could. You're in pretty good shape. I wouldn't want to, though. I mean, that's the thing is, like, I'm tired of someone yelling at me to prove that I can be there or whatever. It's like, dude.
Yeah.
Like, the PT stuff, I get it. Like, you have to be in shape and do it. Like, that's cool. But, like, the people that like to yell just to yell and stuff. I'm like,
yeah.
I got enough for my drill instructors at Paris Island, man. Like, I don't need it. I don't want it.
Well, that's what I was telling this guy. He's in his mid-30s, and he wants to go. There's a couple programs out there right now where you can go into the Coast Guard Reserve, and they need drone operators for these certain billets. Mm-hmm. And so they'll take you when you're older. And he's, it's a condensed boot camp and stuff that you go through. And he's like, oh, what do you think? And of course, I'm like, hey, go for it, man. Do it. Go all the way. But you have to realize you're going to be going to boot camp with a bunch of 19-year-old morons.
Yeah.
Now, I know how stupid I was at 17, 18, 19.
And you don't think you're stupid then either.
No, you think you know it all. And people now, personal opinion, are stupider now at that age than we were. Because now they got the whole, ridiculousness and Facebook and Instagram and TikTok or whatever that thing is.
TikTok. I'm not on TikTok.
No, I think that's how the Chinese do their facial recognition. They get you to put on little videos because they own that, and then they got facial recognition.
There you go.
They know who you are.
They know you, and then they get into your fucking electric company.
That's right.
And they have your bank account. God damn it.
And all they have to do is take a couple dollars off of every single person. Yeah. I mean, think there's 1.5 million people in, say, Oceanside. I take $1 off all of them.
You think there's that many people in Oceanside?
Probably the Tri-City area.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more people in the Tri-City area than Montana.
It's insane how dense California is.
Yeah.
Like going home and seeing like the property price is like so much cheaper, and like Lafayette, Indiana, where I'm from, is I think they have like 85,000 people, but it's over a pretty large area.
Yeah, it's person per square mile or whatever when you look that stuff up.
Yeah, it's small because it's a lot of industry and like farming, agricultural stuff. There's like a sod farm out there. There's cornfields. When you get outside of the actual city, it's cornfields and shit. It's all cornfields and soybean fields. But there's like a downtown like Oceanside and stuff like that, and it's on the river, on the Wabash River. And then across the river is West Lafayette, and you have Purdue University. And but it's just so small. Or it's just so open. It's not as dense like it is here.
Yeah.
Where all these places that are apartments at one point were probably not these. These are actual apartments, but a lot of these places were houses that they've just turned into apartments.
Yeah.
They've partitioned off into apartments because it makes more that way, and I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, rental property. Well, you see what they did in downtown Oceanside. You know how, like, say, Hello Betty's and those places used to have a view of the ocean.
Yeah, they put that resort in.
Man, I was there the other day.
People are pissed.
Yeah.
Locals are pissed.
You spent $1 million on your luxury apartment with an ocean view, and now they just built a building between you and the ocean.
I wonder if that's one of those things they have to disclose whenever they sell the property. That, hey, this plan is in the works. I feel like that's something they would have to disclose. Like if it's already in the works.
It'd be the right thing to do. That'd be the right thing to do. Like, hey, they're going to sell that. But they didn't know. That'd
be something they'd bury,
Yeah.
I'm talking about yeah.
So the guy I was talking to, he wants to do the Air Force has a similar program in the Coast Guard for the reserves, but he has a.
It's all going to go to drone war.
Yeah,
they're getting the drone operators.
Yeah, the drones are so good now. But his company is window cleaning, so he has his own. God damn. My damn phone, it never quits. That's the damn Chinese, the commies got my phone number and they just keep calling me.
They got you, man.
Sell me stuff. But so he owns a window cleaning company. Small business, him and another guy. And he was in the restaurant industry for a while, so he has all these contacts in the San Diego area of restaurants. So he does a lot of restaurants, things like that. Things that have to be cleaned so that it's not like, people pay to have their house windows cleaned or whatever. Mm-hmm. But he does that too. But so one of his accounts stopped paying on time. A little late here and there. It's a multi-restaurant deal. Come to find out, the lady that runs the investment company for those restaurants, what she was doing is she was taking investors' money Because investors will roll the dice for like 2 or 3 years on a new restaurant.
Yeah.
They know that they're not going to make money the first year or two, right? So they'll roll the dice. They put all this money into it. But she also owned the properties or managed the properties. So she jack up the rent on the properties. And then 2 years in, she's got all the investors' money for the restaurant. The restaurant fails. She's also made all the money off the jacked up rent because she knew they weren't going to make it. And then she can do it again. And another group of investors comes in. She just got busted. She went up in front of the feds. Anyway, he's not getting paid. That's why he's...
Oh, doing the drone thing?
Yeah.
Or looking at it?
Yeah, looking at the drone thing.
You know, for people that are out, too, it's actually not a bad idea if you're into drones. I bought a DJI Phantom 3, I think, like years ago. I have it somewhere. I haven't used it in a while because the wire on the controller broke. But if you're into that, or you think you might be into that, you can go to the FAA and take a test. It's just like you get the study material from them, and you go in and take a written test, and now you have your FAA drone operator's license, and it's really not that hard to do.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of jobs that hire people that have them, because real estate photography is almost all drone for, like, obviously aerial and stuff like that. The movie industry, power and gas companies are using drones to inspect their power lines and stuff like that. So that's another, like, industry. I'm like, well, if I fail at everything else, you know, I'll take my minimal drone skills and go like inspect power lines or something.
Yeah, that's actually what he's doing. There's a program. It's down here somewhere. One of the schools down here. He lives down here in San Diego area.
Okay.
It's a program that you don't pay for it.
Okay.
And so it doesn't eat up your GI Bill. It's a drone operator's course.
Okay.
And that's what they're training people for, is to inspect power lines, fly up and look at windmills and see where the, you know, things are, whatever it is.
See if something's damaged on it.
And then I have
check
another
crops.
Yeah,
all kinds of stuff.
I got a buddy that he was with me in Alpha Company 1-5. We were in Ramadi together. We did like 3 deployments together. And when he got out, he went and did the hired gun thing overseas for a couple years. And when he got done with that, his father-in-law was like, hey, can you take some pictures of a house? He's a real estate guy. So he started doing like photography of the houses just to make a buck on the side. Now he's a drone operator, and he does all his about half of his photography is done with the drone.
Yeah, that's it's not a bad way to do it, really. It's a pretty easy thing to get into, and there's so many places that need it and use it. You know, that's how a lot of films are done.
Oh yeah, and it's going to get more and more prevalent because it's cheaper than operating a camera
helicopter
boom or a helicopter. Yeah, I'm going to spend $30,000 worth of fuel to run a helicopter out to look, you know, for somebody in the bushes that got lost, a hiker or whatever, or I can run 10 drones.
Yeah.
You know, pay the guy $100 a day to run the drone or whatever.
Exactly. No, exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That damn iced coffee is pretty dang good.
You like it? It's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not too bad. I mess around with all kinds of coffees. I drink mostly Starbucks only because it's convenient.
Is it walkable from here?
Not necessarily, not now, but not now that I'm down here. But it's I can order it on my app and just go in and pick it up and walk in, grab it, walk out.
Oh, that's cool.
Or I could pull up to the drive-thru, order on the app, pull it up to the drive-thru, and just be like, "Hey, mobile order from Justin," and I can sit here and mess with, because I'm on my fucking phone constantly. So I pull up to the drive-thru and I'm going through social media, messing with comments and shit like that.
Doing what you need to do for business.
Well, I say business, but it's a lot of bullshitting too. Yesterday I was all over fucking Twitter. Oh man, what was yesterday? Oh, yesterday was that gun rally. Yesterday was the gun rally in Virginia.
Yeah,
and people all over Twitter, man, like the anti-gun people or the gun ignorant people, you know, just making some comments. You're like, dude, and they're like, look at all these weak white men, and it's like, dude, here's a ton of pictures of there's black dudes, black women, Chinese woman, you know, like, or Chinese women, excuse me, like, I mean, just everybody out there. They made it. They're trying to make it into this stupid like white nationalist thing. They've been trying to tie it to Charlottesville for like weeks, And then they're also like, look at them being disrespectful on MLK Day. AOC came out and said some bullshit.
Oh,
I don't really get a lot of politics on the podcast and stuff, but the gun thing is kind of, I'm a big gun dude. I'm not like super nerdy about like ballistics and like I don't, make my own ammo or anything, but I like to shoot.
Yeah.
I'll go out and shoot and stuff like that. And
you're just a freedom person, man. Hey.
Yeah.
So
I think the dudes look like douchebags. Some of them look like douchebags wearing their helmets and their knee pads and shit, especially the dudes that didn't serve or just like they're just goofballs. But you know what, man? That's your choice.
Yeah, that's your thing. And half of that stuff is a plant anyways.
That's like going to a car meet and I'm like, hey, this car looks like that looks retarded. I don't think that's stupid, but whatever, man.
It's not my car.
I'm not going to be like, get out of here.
Yeah.
You should be here. You should be allowed to do that. It's like, hey, man, you're allowed to do it. You want to wear all that stuff? Cool. And I get it. That's an event, so that's why dudes were wearing, they don't walk around like that. Some of them probably do, but
a lot of that stuff is plants.
Think so?
Oh, I know so. If you ever watch any of the...
Are you a big conspiracy theory guy?
No, but I know that we've been fooled,
yeah,
time and time again. For example, the Flint water crisis thing and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, part of that was they had changed the water source, and the new source didn't have the anti-lead properties.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't the water that was... It was people that had the old houses with the lead.
Yeah, it was the old piping and stuff.
Yeah. Well, the final thing that comes out from that now is that the lead in the people's water that were consuming it was lower when the crisis was going on than it was in the 70s.
Okay.
So
it was higher than average, but it still wasn't.
It was still lower. So if
weren't they on bottled water though? I thought they were drinking bottled water.
It's part of the whole. Once the ball gets rolling, no one ever says.
Would you drink the water though?
I would drink the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no fear, man. I don't get sick.
Yeah.
This is a whole nonsense. Like
that happens everywhere though. The water crisis like that. So Camp Lejeune had. There's a huge.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still ongoing. I'm not involved. I'm not that old.
Yeah.
That was your era. Of like the water contamination in Camp Lejeune. Like there's a lot of lawsuits out there. I think there's a class action lawsuit against the government for
they're
dudes
actually
getting cancer and everything else about
taking
it.
care of people because of that.
Do they allow them to claim it on their VA? Is that what it was? That was like one of the changes.
I don't know what the final thing was, but there was a return on investment of people making their complaints.
Yeah.
But that was one of the things. Once the ball's rolling, yes, it was real, but it wasn't. There weren't thousands of people in the children's lead ward.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
Well, the big thing now is that people still think that's going on. So people like, oh, we'll send money to so and so, but we won't help the people of Flint, Michigan. It's like, dude, it's been helped. Like it's fixed. Like everything's good in Flint.
It's good.
Where you been?
And it's all for ratings.
Oh, it's stupid.
They push stuff.
Well, I'm not talking about on TV. I'm talking about regular people. I'm one of those losers that dives into fucking internet comments, and I'm like, excuse me, sir. Like, let me drop this link on you. Get out of my face. I'm a loser like that because I don't know why.
I do that too, but mostly I do it just to stir the pot. I have a couple buddies.
Oh, yeah, I do that too. Yeah.
They're my, they're guys from, when I was in 2-4 and stuff, and they're Chicago guys, so they're, kind of liberally.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what happened to them. The Marine Corps is supposed to breed all that out of you, love of Corps and country.
You would think so, huh?
But yeah, but it takes all kinds.
Who were you with 2-4? When were you with 2-4?
Oh God, 90. Was in 2-9 from 94, and then 90 late 93, early 94, I think, and then 2-9 became 2-4.
Oh, okay. Did you know? So I put a post up that we were getting ready to sit down and do an interview, and Jess Kindlespire asked, "Do you remember Staff Sergeant Lund with Weapons 2-4?"
Yeah, Staff Sergeant Lund was my platoon sergeant.
Okay.
And actually, I
didn't we talk about him?
Yeah. I never got to tell you his life story, but it's pretty interesting. I'll condense it. So he's from India. From Mumbai. And he got into Okinawan Goju in India. And, they have this whole thing that's where martial arts started.
Yeah,
and it went to China and Japan. Anyways,
oh, really?
Yeah. Well, if you're from India,
Indians claim that now.
Yeah. But and I don't know how true all that is.
I don't know
There's
either.
some history to it. But anyways, so he is doing this when he's a kid, like 15, 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he decides he wants to go to Okinawa while the master, Goju master, is still alive. And he's already old. So he stows away on a freighter out of India and makes his way to Okinawa. Gets caught.
What?
Yeah, it's like a kung fu movie. His life story is like a kung fu movie. So he gets caught, but since he's a kid, they use him, to work on the ship or whatever. And he makes his way, to wherever, to Indonesia, and then bounces from Indonesia. Finally gets to Okinawa.
They don't send him back when they hit a port?
He's from India. They got lots of people in India. They don't need him back.
That's crazy. They just let him ride. Like, yeah, you're already here, man. Welcome to the crew.
Yeah, I think it was one of those deals like, if he didn't talk, they couldn't,
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
And he's that kind of guy. So anyway, he ends up in Okinawa. He finds, Master Goju dude, and he goes to work in a bakery in the daytime so he could train at night. And part of his deal was to clean the dojo and stuff. He kind of had a deal where he worked in the bakery, and then so he does that till he's a couple years, whatever it is. His family immigrates to the United States. So he catches up with them on the East Coast, gets his master's degree in psychology, and then joins the Marine Corps as a Lance Corporal or as a rifleman to pay America back.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
To pay America back for what? He'd already traveled.
For his citizenship,
for just being able to come here.
His family, the whole thing, getting out of Mumbai and...
Man.
Or Bombay. It was Bombay at the time. Now it's Mumbai. But yeah, to pay America back for the great thing of bringing his family out of the poverty and stuff in India.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, and then he did
the Marine Corps. How long was he in?
20-something years, 25 years, something like that.
25 years?
Yep.
Sergeant Major then?
He was a Master Guns.
Master Guns?
Yeah. And then I don't know if he was Master Sergeant or Master Guns when he retired. Then he went back to India as a monk, became some kind of monk.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, so...
Is he still around?
Yeah. Actually, he has a YouTube channel of monk stuff.
Stuff?
Hindu stuff. He's,
Hindu stuff?
Not a Yoda.
Yoda.
A yogi guy.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So he went back to India, and I would keep track of him off and on, email and stuff. And he was living in some monk place in India. And
what a crazy path.
Yeah.
That's just you have to kind of try to remind yourself that everybody's on a different path. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's path has been different. Because a kid that stowed away on a boat and went to Okinawa and then made their way to the United States, like all on their own, is going to be completely different than like my kid who plays video games and talks to his buddies on his phone and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, well,
you know what I'm saying? Like
the life experiences are different.
Yeah, that's just so crazy, And my kid's life is completely different than my life, because I grew up. I was born not pre-internet, but basically like at the Stone Age. It was like the first keystrokes were being, struck or whatever. 83. So just being around before the internet, like, hey, go play outside.
Look things up.
There was no phones to play with. There was no... Yeah, I looked things up in an encyclopedia. I remember going to the library. I remember you had to use the index or whatever that thing was, that huge thing full of note cards. You had to find your book on the little card.
Yeah, the Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah, you had to know the Dewey Decimal System or you couldn't find a book in the library.
Yeah. And you had to learn that stuff. And it was good in that way. But I love...
Oh, man.
I love being able to... We're discussing something and we want to look up, what does that mean? Boom! I have every piece of knowledge of mankind. I
wish more people took advantage of that, and I try to put that on my kid. So we will be saying he'll ask me some questions about something. I'll be like, "Look it up." Like I don't know, let's look it up. Just to reinforce, like we don't have to guess anymore.
No, we don't.
Like we can look it up. Yeah. It's right there. I'll tell you what. The first person that really pushed that, and I was like, "Huh." I used to when I got to 210. And I was in the liaison shop. I would sit in this office, and there was 3 desks. and it would be Gunnery Sergeant Klein, his desk, and then my desk, and then across from me was Sergeant DeLara, right? And then the Marines were in and out. We had a back room as well with a couch and shit that they all, and their own desk that they all hung out in there. And when there was nothing going on, or we were at lunch, or we were just sitting there doing office work, you know how you always just a discussion will start, and we'll just be sitting there bullshitting, and someone will be like, "Oh, like I would say something to Gunny Klein like, I think this," and he'll be like, "No, I think it's this," and then out of nowhere, Delara's like, "Actually, it's blah 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 blah." The whole time we're talking, him as well, he's just Googling it.
Oh yeah,
and I'm like, dude, that's so smart, man. Like, why argue about it, or why even like? Let's just figure it out. And after that, after seeing him do that all the time, I do that all the time. I'm like, hey, let's fucking look it up. Like we have it right here.
Even before we had cell phones, I had a buddy, Staff Sergeant Damath. Well, I think it was Gunny Damath or Master Sergeant Damath when we retired, but we worked together at SOI, and he was the linchpin. So we started the machine gun leaders course, the basic machine gunners course, the non-infantry machine gun course to train, motor T guys and stuff for all
MPs
the weapons
and stuff.
But he was the guy. I was in charge of it because I was the gunny, but he was actually the man. Mm-hmm. He was the foundation of that program, and so I had to learn from him. I had been out of the machine gun MOS for 5 years or whatever prior, and so I'm running the machine gun program, but I'm not as good as he is. And anytime he'd be like, "Well, here, look it up," and he'd hand me the manual. And he also taught me how to read to understand.
Yeah.
So normally we skim.
Yeah, I'm really bad about that.
Yeah, the internet age has made us really bad.
It's almost like you're just checking the box, like you're going through the page, like skimming through it.
Yeah, I'm just looking for the answer.
Yeah.
How many calories is this? I don't even care about the recipe. I just want to know how many calories it is.
Yeah.
But he would stop and say, "No, let's read that again." And he'd go, "You're going to rotate the bezel 4 clicks to the left. That's going to make the thing go up or down." Mm-hmm. And he'd say, "Okay, let's think about it. If I turn my hand this way, that's to the right. So I must be pulling it towards myself in order for it to go to the left." And he would read it and then analyze it. And he's the one that taught me to read like that and to look things up.
Like break it down.
Yeah, and so that was before the cell phone age or before Google. And so we had to still go get a book off the shelf. But it was interesting the way he taught it. Like, hey, take your time. It's not a race to the answer.
Yeah, there's a difference between knowing something and understanding something.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole nother world to that, too.
It's like, and what you're talking about, I think I actually got a good... As much as I hated it, I'm a very mechanical person. I'm a very, I can put stuff together. It kind of comes naturally to me. As much as I hated being a mechanic in the Marine Corps, like it was miserable, it probably wasn't a bad deal for me because I was good at it, Yeah. And the Marine Corps set me down and they're like, as a motor T, so motor T maintenance course, right? MTM, I don't remember what it's called. But I think it's like motor team maintenance course. But when you go and you're a mechanic, I remember my first day, I'm like, no fucking way. The instructor holds up a screwdriver. It was like, this is a screwdriver. This is a flat tip screwdriver. And dudes are like, oh, and taking notes, like, okay. And I'm like, no fucking way, dude. And so that course basically goes, these are what tools are. And this is how to read the manual to how to fix shit.
Right.
We're going to teach you how to fix the top 4 problems or things that you're going to see. We pulled a motor out of a car. We changed you did a preventative maintenance, like an oil change. You changed the hubs out on the gears on or the hubs out on the wheels. And, you did all these, you did a few different things, but you're not a good mechanic. They just teach you how to read the manual. And right. I think that, learning how to read a manual and go step by step and turn this here and then this is this pull, and then you start seeing the schematics and you can kind of see how everything goes together without actually.
That's my strength is I can see in my mind what's happening inside the machine. That's why I don't do as well with computers. Computers, you have to just follow the steps. Click here, get the drop down box, choose this, because I can't see what's happening. But with a mechanical, an engine, whatever, I can see in my mind what happens. This pushes this.
Yeah.
When that pushes, this spring holds the pressure, But that's when I learned it from my motor T buddy, too, when we were sergeants. Same thing. He'd say, anytime somebody would ask him, he's like, I don't know. I don't know what the pressure is for the air brakes.
You look at the TM manual.
He's like, well, let's look it up. But that was his thing as a sergeant. Instead of saying, I don't know, he'd say, well, let's look it up and you can learn from this.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I didn't have a fucking clue. But I'm making myself look like I know what I'm doing, and I'm figuring it out at the same time.
Yeah. I'll do that with my kids sometimes.
Yeah, it's a good trick.
Be like, let's look it up, bud.
Yeah.
You tell me what it is. No. Yeah, it's, overall being a mechanic sucked, but it taught me a ton on, I've saved so much money learning what I learned as a motor team mechanic.
Oh, I'll bet.
And not just working on the Humvee, because I worked on the Humvees, the 7 tons, the LVS. I never worked on the LVS-R. I was there right before they started implementing them. I worked on the ITV, which they've actually gotten rid of now since you've retired and since I've gotten out. Right before I got out, they stopped using that little Jeep-looking thing that towed the 120 millimeter mortar. So they're no longer using that. I was the head mechanic for that program when they were testing it, as a Lance Corporal.
Holy moly. So I have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
Remind me to ask the second one because we'll get lost after the first one.
We always get just random on, yeah.
So we do all those PMs, right? Mm-hmm. Now,
what do you mean, like the weekly PMs?
Yeah, on all the vehicles. We're cleaning the batteries and checking the fluids and doing all that, right? Now, no one does that on their car.
No.
No one ever does that. Some people never even lift the hood for years on end.
Yeah.
But the Humvees are constantly falling apart.
But you also drive your car daily. One thing is you drive your car daily.
Okay.
So start it up and stuff like that. That's to make sure like the battery doesn't die and you're charging it back up. That way it's not just, it'd be like sitting in your car there and letting it just die.
Yeah, letting it sit in the parking lot for deployment and then the battery's dead when you get back.
Checking the oil. And Humvees and 7 tons, you also don't drive your car like you do a Humvee and stuff like that.
Well, yeah.
And if you do, you're an asshole.
Yeah. You do, you're irresponsible because no one drives.
People don't care, man. They slam the doors on them. They freaking, you have to now. And when I say slam the doors, I'm thinking in my head the vinyl doors, the old ones.
Right, yeah. Not
the armored.
Yeah, the old ones, the plastic
armored
handle.
doors, man. You slam your finger in that thing.
It's a goner.
Yeah, you'll chop your finger off. Those doors weigh, I think they're like 400 or 500 pounds each.
Yeah, I've been in spots where you're up on your side and you can't get the passenger door open because it's
so
towards
heavy.
The sky.
Yeah, you have to press it.
Yeah, and you got to turn on your side and use your legs to push the door open, and then hope to God you get your feet down before the door slams on you.
Yeah, if you go to replace a door or something like that, you have to use a lift because it's so fucking heavy.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
But so the big thing is between the vehicles, between like civilian vehicles and military ones, is one your civilian vehicle you're driving every day,
right?
And it's made to and you drive on regular roads every day. Humvees are driven by different people all the time on different terrain all the time,
right?
Including really shitty terrain. Have you ever Forded a Humvee or anything like that?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so you're taking it through some pretty rough terrain, and people just drive them like they're rental cars.
Yeah, yeah. That's one of the reasons I think they are. We had a Dodge. Remember, Dodge had the government contract. So when Dodge was collapsing, and they put all that money into Chrysler to keep them afloat, part of the deal was Uncle Sam bought a bunch of those Ram. The last generation of the square body Ram pickup. Mm-hmm. That was part of saving Chrysler. Well, we had those like when I was at Edson Range.
Yeah, those things were. You still see them every once in a while, like an old one cruising around.
They were tough as hell. I mean, we drove them completely irresponsibly. When we went through a ditch one time, and the whole front bumper came off. We missed the turn, and ended up hitting the ditch, and the front bumper smashed into the ground. We all smacked the windshield, backed it up out of there, and it had ripped the bumper off. It got caught up in the tree limbs or whatever.
Yeah.
We just stuck it back on there, wired it together enough to get it back in the motor pool and not get caught. You know? But yeah, those things were tough.
Then the poor fucking mechanics got to deal with it.
Yeah.
See, exactly. That's what I'm talking about right there.
Exactly.
You're like, oh shit, we'll just wire it up. Yeah. It's just, ridden hard, put away wet. You know, it's just one of those things.
I always wondered, like, God dang, the Humvee is $1 million vehicle. I can't keep the damn thing running.
Yeah. I mean, so, and the other thing too, like the motors going out and shit like that, the motors, all that shit's rebuilt by Marines for the most part. Like, there are some that you get that are brand new. And as a mechanic, you could tell they're painted. I think the ones that are rebuilt, I can't remember now. One was painted like a teal color, like the actual block. Yeah. That's different than the other one. One of those, I can't remember which one's which, but one is rebuilt by Marines or in like the shop.
Third echelon
shop. And the other one is like a brand new motor. So we would get motors. I got pretty good at taking a fucking Humvee motor out. I could have a Humvee motor sitting on the ground. If I came in, I come into work and we start working. We start turning wrenches by like 8:30. By 1 o'clock, we can have the Humvee motor sitting on the ground. Easy. Damn. Okay. Two dudes that know what you're doing. And that's, you take the hood off. You're taking all this shit off.
Yeah, you got to take all the externals off.
You can do it quicker than that before 1 o'clock, honestly. I think we could do it a lot faster than that back when we were doing it constantly. But you'd get a new motor in and go put that thing in, put it all back together, try to fire it up, and then find out that motor's bad.
Oh.
And it's a rebuilt one. So then you take it all back apart again, take that motor out, ship it back, and then wait on a new motor to show up. You know, and I've literally put in 2 bad motors before I've gotten a good motor before. I mean, that happened one time, but it was still like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? I'm on the 3rd motor here.
And they're not that hard to rebuild. It's a diesel.
Yeah, there's a school for it. I mean, so as a mechanic, you have your basic 3521, which you work on Humvees, 7 tons. Now they have the LVS-R. I don't think they even have LVSs in the fleet anymore. I'm not sure if they even use them anymore. And then I think that's really it, right? Humvee, 7 tons, and LVS-Rs. We don't really have any other vehicles. Well, and then the MRAPs and shit. You learn how to work on the MRAPs.
Yeah.
As your base 3521, though, you just learn in school. When I went through school, we did the Humvee and the 7 ton. That was back in 2006, so that's probably changed.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I don't think we had anything else back then.
Well, we had the LVSs.
Oh, yeah, the LVS, that's the big, like...
But even that, we went to a school for that. There was another school. So that's the thing, is I came, and you go to your unit, and then you can get sent to LVS school to learn how to work on that. I'm sure they have a second school for it as well, but I know when I went through, they sent us to South Carolina to do the MRAP course, and I went twice. So I learned how to work on the 4x and the 6x Cougar MRAPs, and then I went back to work on the Buffalo, the big ass one, the engineer one that has the big arm on the side.
Oh yeah, well that's a long one, right?
Yeah, it's
fit like 8 people in the back of it.
Yeah, and it's got the huge mechanical arm on the side that they can remote control from the inside of it and pick up and like poke an IED and see if it blows up or not.
Oh shit!
If you've seen the very first Transformers, towards the end of the movie, there's one skating down the street. There's like an MRAP in the movie, and it transforms. Yeah? It's a bad guy, transforms, and then it's skating down the street. I worked on that one. I have a photo of it. It has that's the one that they had at the factory there to work on. It has a Decepticon logo welded onto the back, like a little one like that big.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, we were...
Decepticons.
You know what's fucked up is me and my buddy, there was a couple of us there. But I know me and my buddy Matt Gay, and what was the other kid's name? Oh, I feel bad I'm forgetting his name. Dolman. Casey Dolman. We got sent to that course, and the night before, that day was like the Marine Corps birthday or something like that when we got down there. And it might have been one other guy. Rob might have been there. I can't remember. Anyway, we got hammered as fuck. We went to like a Texas Roadhouse right next to our hotel. You know, we're in this small town. There's no Marines or anybody around. So we go to this Texas Road. I think it was a Texas Roadhouse or Longhorn Steakhouse, one or the other. And we go to the little bar in there, and we just start getting hammered. And the next day, super hungover, go to class.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, you're just like, oh. And they're like, hey, all right, guys, we're going to be driving to Buffalo today. And I'm like, oh, my God. And we drive around the factory parking lot, and they have you drive around the factory parking lot and then park back into a spot. And they're like, all right, you're good. Now go out onto the highway. And then you just pull this fucking big ass
holy
beast, and you're driving down the highway, and we're all hungover. You know, everyone's there is like all the Marines that were there were all fucking drinking all night. So everyone's like, "Oh my god, we're driving down this highway in South Carolina
with the Deathmobile,
this massive fucking vehicle." It was a good time though.
Ah, that's got to be crazy.
But yeah, you go to schools like that, and then they used to have fuel and electric, where you go and you learn how the electric wiring and you learn the fuel systems. So if you have like a fuel line that's broke or something like that, you can learn how to diagnose and replace that shit and repair it. And then they have I can't remember that third echelon shop where you go in and you learn how to break down, you completely tear down a motor and learn how to rebuild it, and then you tear down a transmission.
Yeah.
And then I think a transfer case as well.
Yeah, that third echelon, I know, God, this was back in like 93 or 4. So I have another buddy that he got his law degree while he was in the Marine Corps.
Mm-hmm.
Took one class at a time.
While he was in the Marine Corps?
Yeah.
Wow.
He took one class at a time. Took him about 10 years. But he was, past the bar and all that. And then he commenced to screwing everything up. Left his wife, got the 26-year-old stripper girlfriend. He did all the Lance Corporal stuff, as the staff sergeant.
Oh, my God.
After he got his law degree, but he pissed it away. Anyways, he had this Escort, Ford Escort, the little square one, like from the 80s.
Uh-huh.
And it was pretty slick looking for the time. It was kind of like a Ice Baby car. That type of thing. Kind of like a Fox,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, kind of like a Fox body Mustang.
Kind of like a Gremlin.
Yeah, it was like a Gremlin. Yeah. But it had the stripes and stuff.
Down the side.
Yeah, it was the
cool like
sport version of the Escort. So it was the Mustang of the Escort.
Oh, that was the show edition.
Yeah, like had
SHO.
wannabe Krager rims.
Yeah.
But he commenced to turn that up. And so we went down to third echelon. We had another buddy down at Del Mar that shot the paint on the landing craft.
Oh, okay.
When they repaint the AAVs. So we're like, all right, hey, we did the body work and this and that. And I'm like, hey, can you shoot some primer on this? He's like, yeah, no problem. So we pulled it in there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that, them having a paint shop there, huh?
Yeah, and it's badass.
Yeah.
It's like...
It's got to be awesome for them to be able to pull one of those vehicles into it, like huge.
Yeah. Well, he did this car in like 15 minutes. He primered it. We taped it up, got it all ready.
Yeah.
Pulls it in, boom, boom, these giant paint sprayer thing. But I didn't know the primer on that shit's like 11 pounds.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's
using
duty.
the Kark paint.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all rough. And
it's really bad to breathe in, too.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like breathing in dirt.
We had to make it. It's like when I was working on the ITV, we would be because it was a vehicle in development. We were like, oh, maybe we should do this to the ring mount. We should do this. And as you would make alterations to the vehicle, like cutting shit, grinding stuff, adding stuff, you'd have to paint it. Yeah. So we got the formula or whatever, and we would mix our own. That shit's really toxic. I didn't know until that.
What's it made out of? What's the deal?
I don't remember.
Just death chemicals mixed together to keep it from rusting.
It's some kind of paint like mixture. I'm sure you can look it up, but
yeah.
I don't remember why. It's a special kind of paint. I don't remember why though.
I'm sure it has something to do with rust. And, it protects the metal.
Yeah, but I think it's more than that.
It's tough enough not to get chipped off and scratched off.
Yeah. I think it has something to do with the... and I could be wrong. I think it has something to do with the camouflage of the vehicle, too.
I wouldn't say heat signature or something like that? Or
maybe.
Reflection?
I'd have to look it up, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, we'd have to Google that.
What was the second thing you were going to ask me, though? Since we went down on a tangent?
I knew we were going to do that, and I was going to forget. So how did you end up going from, and I think I heard this on one of your podcasts I was listening to on my drive, but how did you end up going from Motor T to Ford Observer?
So when I first came in, or when I went and talked to the recruiter, I was like, hey man, I want to do infantry. I was like, I want to be an assaultman. I already looked it up. I was like, that dude gets to carry a rocket launcher and a shotgun, and he gets to play with explosives. I'm like, that's the fucking job I want. You know, so I go down to the recruiter and I'm like, hey man, like here's the deal. This is what I want to do. And he's like, all right, cool, dude. Infantry's tough, but you know, we might be able to make it happen. What else would you want to do? And I told him, I was like, well, I'd like to be a forward observer, or I was like, maybe tanks would be cool or something like that, you know? And he's like, all right, I'll see what I can do. And then as the weeks are going on and I go to, and this is kind of a backstory. I don't think I've ever told this part, but as the weeks are going on, I'm like calling him and I'm like, hey man, is the infantry job good? Is the infantry job good? And he's I'm still waiting. And I'm getting close to like leaving to go to boot camp, like a couple days away at this point. And I called in. I'm like, hey, man, just checking to see, like, is this guaranteed or what? And he wasn't there. Another recruiter answered. He's just like, yeah, man, you're all good, bro. You know?
Yeah.
I don't even know who the guy was. He's like, yeah, you're all good to go. And I'm like, all right, cool, awesome. So I'm like, fuck yeah. And like I said, I ended up coming in as motor T and shit like that. Or I came in open contract. I ended up getting open. So I go down. I guess I might as well tell the whole story. I go down to MEPS thinking, okay, I'm leaving for boot camp. You know, tomorrow. They take you out the day before.
Right.
So I go down there and they put us up in a hotel. Apparently they used to put you up in a shitty ass hotel in the hood in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Because that's the Indianapolis is where the MEPS I went to. And then, but I stayed in like a super nice like Hilton or some shit where they had like the really nice buffet breakfast in the morning and all this stuff that you could go to and all this everything.
Yeah, you lucked out.
So then we go to MEPS, do all your stuff, process all your paperwork. And the dude's like, hey, what job do you want? And I'm like, what do you mean, what job do I want? I'm infantry. And he's like, yeah, man, infantry's full, bro. And my recruiter had said, hey, it's going to be tough to get you in there. And I thought I was good. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I was told I was in infantry. He's like, no, dude, I have you listed as not having a job picked. So you need to tell me, like, what do you want to do? And he's like, if you want infantry, you can do it, but you're going to have to wait another, like, 3 to 6 months.
Right.
You know, for the next cycle of drops or whatever the quota is to come out. And I'm like, dude, I had sold my car, quit my job on good terms.
Right.
And moved out of my apartment. And then I also had found out my now ex was pregnant that week. Like the week that I was going to boot camp. And this dude, I'm down at boot camp, said goodbye to everybody. Or I'm down at MEPS, said goodbye to everybody. Like, I'm going to boot camp today. And this dude's like, well, you can wait if you want, but it's going to be 3 months. And I'm like, I can't wait 3 months, dude. Yeah. Like, there's just no way. And then he's like, okay, well, you can do admin or supply. And I'm like, or something else. And I'm like, dude, fuck that. I didn't join the Marine Corps to sit behind a desk. Like, or I'm not joining the Marine Corps to sit behind a desk. You know, I want to do something cool. He's like, well, the only other way you're going to get into infantry is if you go open contract. And I'm like, no fucking way, man. And I told the dude, because my dad was in the Army. I was like, no way, man. I was like, if I go open contract, I'll be a fucking mechanic or a goddamn cook.
That's funny.
And he's like, no way. No, you'll be fine, blah, blah, blah. Well, I became a fucking mechanic. And anyway, so I'm motor team mechanic. Go through the whole thing. Flash forward, 2009. I'm in Iraq. I'm in TQ, and it's coming around the time for reenlistment. So you know they start hitting everybody up. Hey, you need to start thinking about if you're going to reenlist or not. You know, Corporal Kramer, what are you going to do? And I'm like, dude, fuck this, man. Like, I'm not staying as a mechanic. And my buddy Teddy Martin, and he was like. Dude, I'm gonna put in a lat move package to go forward observer. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna put that too. I was like, I'm gonna do it as well. And it made me think back to when I said that when I first was gonna join. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. And I think what happened was I had been arrested before I joined, and I think I didn't get one of those jobs. And I didn't get. They originally told me I was going to be intel. And boot camp, they're like, you're going to O2, whatever.
Yeah.
Geographic intelligence specialist. I think what happened was they ran my stuff for my clearance and saw that I had been arrested twice within the last, couple years. So they were like, dude, mechanic,
Yeah.
So that's probably what ended up happening to me. So I go back and I'm like, okay, well, I should be good now because I've been in the Marine Corps for 3 years now. I got arrested years ago. Like, I should be good now because it requires a secret and clearance to be an 0861. So I was like, all right, cool, man. So we go down, we put in our packages. I talked about it. I don't remember if I talked about it on the podcast or if I talked about it somewhere, but I ended up going to, I talked about it on the podcast with Hanthorn. I flew to Alisal twice to get my eyes checked to see if I was colorblind and shit. And then the monitors came, right? And the monitors came to TQ Iraq. And I was like, fuck yeah. They're like, you have the chance to take your actual package to the monitor, sit down with them. And, you're a corporal. You have no idea. Well, what the fuck's a monitor? They're like, this is the dude that's going to decide your fate. You know?
He's the guy that says, I have holes to fill and you fit in one of those holes.
Exactly. So, and me and my buddy, Matt Gay, he was putting in a lat move package to go, me and Martin take our stuff in, we turn our packages in, and our stuff comes back, and we meet all the prerequisites and stuff like that, but you got to meet the boat spaces, right? And we're sitting there waiting, and they're like, they tell Martin, they're like, hey dude, you didn't get it. And they told me, they're like, you didn't get it either. Like, neither one of you guys got it. Like, there was no boat space for you. And I'm like, fuck, man. Like I do not want to stay in the Marine Corps as a mechanic. I had a buddy that was a mechanic over at MARSOC. He went over to MARSOC, but he was also basically holding at MARSOC until his seat came into, until he went to ANS.
Okay.
But he got to go to like jump school. He got to go to like all these courses. He's telling me about courses where they're teaching them, their driving courses, teaching them how to break into cars, hot wire cars, how to, pick locks, do all this stuff. He's telling me, I'm like, that sounds cool.
Yeah.
So I'm talking to my career planner. I'm like, hey man, okay, look, if that's not open, I want to do tanks or maybe AAV. Which now I'm like, God, I'm glad I didn't do fucking AAV.
Yeah.
Yeah, my recruiter is AAV and he loved it. I remember one of my recruiters being an AAV guy and he loved it. And I'm like, yeah, it wouldn't be too bad. But now I'm like, fuck that. That would have sucked.
You spend more time PMing than the mechanics do.
Yeah. So I told the career planner, he's like, dude, tanks doesn't open up for lat movers until December. By that point, your own job, 3521, could be full. So you may not even have a boat space left there. And then you're going to be fucked. He's like, so you need to pick something that's available now or just stay as a mechanic. And I told him, I'm like, the only way I'm staying as a mechanic is if you send me to MARSOC over to this unit. I'm like, and they look my buddy's name up. They're like, all right, we'll look it up. And they look up his name. They're like, he's at this unit in this company. We'll send you there. And I'm like, cool. Like, I'm talking to the monitor. So the monitor's saying that, And I'm like, all right, cool, man. Sounds good. And they're like, all right, we'll get all the paperwork done and then just come in tomorrow and you'll sign it. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I leave, talk to my buddy Matt Gay. He's coming in to talk to, and I told him, I'm like, hey, dude, the MARSOC monitor's down there. You should come in and talk to him because he wants to go to MARSOC. So him and I walk back down there, and I go in, and he goes and talks to his dude, and I'm talking to mine, and my dude is like, he's like, hey man, hey, I got some bad news and I got some good, or he's like, I got some bad news, and I'm like, what? And he's like, you're not going to MARSOC. And I'm like, dude, fuck this, man. Blah, blah, blah. Like, fuck this. I'm getting out. Like, this job's full. This job's full. Like, I'm not doing this again. Like, I've hated being a mechanic. I've been with, I'm just venting.
Right.
This Corporal Kramer's just blah, 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 just going off, and just this gun, he's just sitting there letting me. And he's like, do you want to hear the good news? And I'm like, you didn't fucking say there was any good news.
Good news. What's up?
And I was like, yeah, go ahead. What's the good news, Gunny? And he's just like, your 0861 lat move package got approved. And I'm like, no way. And they're like, yeah, they made a call. And I don't know why they accepted mine. And they didn't accept Teddy, my buddy. I feel bad for him. That his didn't get accepted. Him and I, he was super pissed about me getting it, about that happening. But, it is what it is. It sucks. And I would have been too if I would have put in a package as well. But for some reason I got picked. And, I came back from Iraq. And then I was at maintenance battalion for a couple months while, we come back and do all our shit you do when you get back. And then I checked into 210 on November. I think it was the beginning of November of 2011. And then I went from there.
It's interesting because, your normal thought process would be the guy who has been in that MOS for the longest is going to be better at it. But in your case, what we experienced was maybe it's because somebody wanted it. They wanted it enough to go after it. And that's why you were so good at it.
There's a lot of lat movers in the 6-1 community just because of the turnover rate. Because it is a fun job, it's a great job, but it's a high tempo job. Especially depending on what unit you go to. If you're at Anglico, you're going to be in the field,
you're
deployed.
Constantly going.
Constantly. And if you're all about that, then it's great, which I was all about that. I'm like, this is fucking cool.
Yeah.
And then when you go to combat or, you get a deployment, and when I was doing it, the guys were going to Afghanistan and going to Iraq and shit like that. So these dudes were doing, some of them were doing like legitimate stuff. Some of them were doing like COC work and shit if you got stuck being one of those positions. But some of these dudes were out here getting in firefights and fucking calling for fire and being forward observers and shit. And as much fun, if you want to call it that, as combat can be, it takes a toll after a while. And some dudes get that experience and they're like, that's all I wanted and I'm done now. Like, right. I'm not going to keep going back for more. You know what I'm saying? And some guys just get tired of the tempo. And then some guys, you have your regular guys that just decide to get out. But because it's the stressfulness of the job, it's, a lot of dudes end up getting out. So you end up with a lot of lat movers into the 0861 community. Some are good, some are bad. Just like some of the, whatever they call themselves, the old timers or the originals or whatever. The dudes that aren't lat movers always try to give lat movers shit. They try to. It's just one of those things. It's all in good fun, but Well,
I remember everybody wanted to lat move there for a while because the promotions were so fast.
Promotions were that was one of the reasons Teddy was pissed at me because he had always been like one step ahead of me in promotions. He'd always because he got someone to join out of boot camp or out of, he got people to join. So he was a PFC out of boot camp. We went to MOS school. We weren't in boot camp together, but we were MOS school together. He graduated boot camp or MOS school as a Lance Corporal. I picked up PFC. And then it just kind of stayed like that. He became a corporal.
Right.
And then
he had the lead on
and then I lat moved, and he's like, "Hey man, I'm getting promoted to sergeant this month. Like my cutting score came out." And I was like, "Oh, that's super cool, man. That's super cool." And then I remember going home for lunch that day, and I'm like, "I wonder what my cutting score is." And I look it up, and now because I lat moved, even though I hadn't been to school and I hadn't switched units or anything, I was 08XX in the system, and I was getting promoted to sergeant as well. And I come back, I'm like, "Bro, I'm getting promoted too." And he's like, "Man, fuck you."
I know.
Plus, there was like a bonus and shit too.
Yeah,
so,
that was part of the. I know everybody was chasing that.
The bonuses back then were huge for some of the MOSs. When I lat moved, I didn't even know that there was a bonus. Like I lat moved, and then they're like, "Hey, you're getting a bonus." I'm like, "Oh, no way, that's cool." Like, how much? And then they told me, and I'm like, "Holy shit!" And then the shitty thing about that is everyone, when you get to your unit in the fleet, like when I came to 10th Marines, literally the first question I got was, "How much was your bonus?" Like, what was your bonus? Because dudes knew you were getting a big bonus,
right?
And I didn't want people to think that I was there for the bonus, and that wasn't, and I wasn't. I couldn't be a fucking mechanic anymore. Like, I wanted to be infantry, and I didn't feel like I could go into the infantry as a lat mover. Because coming in as a senior corporal, or maybe even getting promoted to sergeant over in the infantry as soon as you get there, like, with zero real-world experience, during a time of active combat, it's hard.
It's tough.
It'd be hard for me to come in there and be like, "This is how it's done, guys."
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah. Well, that's how it is anywhere in the Marine Corps. You just have to have an open mind.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm ready to learn. Because no matter what job you get, that's the downside to first sergeant.
Well,
you can end up in canteen cup repair battalion.
My deal, I realized, I was like, well, if I'm a forward observer, I'm still going to work with the infantry guys. I'm still going to get to go do, the traditional forward. Of course, I was a sergeant, so when I got to my unit, and my gunny Klein, Staff Sergeant Klein at the time, he's like, "What do you think a forward observer does?" And I'm like, or he's like, "What do you think you're going to do here? What's your job here?" And I'm like, "To be the link between the infantry and the artillery, to do call for fire, and da-da-da-da." And he's like, "Yeah, that's a Lance Corporal's job. You're going to be a fucking fires chief." He's like, "So you need to start learning." And I'm like, "Oh, fuck,
yeah,
man."
So now, yeah.
I missed all the cool shit, but in reality, I didn't. I got lucky and got to do a bunch of cool shit, but that's even if I would have joined the infantry, at some point you're going to be on a desk.
Well, that's how the whole thing works. Eventually, you don't get to do the fun part no more.
Yeah, the fun shit goes away, and that was kind of one of my things when I decided to get out. I'm like, I'm kind of done. Mm-hmm. After being at the MU, being the fires chief, and not doing anything cool, just being a desk jockey, I was like, you know what? I think I'm losing the grip on the fun shit, and it's gonna be more of this and less of that. And I don't get paid enough to tell my kid goodbye 7 months to sit at a desk on a ship
Yeah, or
at sea or
in a terrible tent.
Like if I'm going to be doing something, I want to be doing something.
It's interesting because that's, I always get the question, what made you stay so long?
Yeah.
And after, you're out of the fun zone, and then you're starting to push paper and enforce the rules and all that. But what makes you stay so long is people.
Yeah.
The people, because you start a project, Like I had a guy that, I think I told you about him. He had got busted from sergeant to private.
Yeah.
And so I'm in the process of getting him an honorable discharge was the goal. So he came back. He was on appellate leave. And it was when the war was first kicking off, and or a little bit into it. And they brought him back on appellate leave. So he was basically out. Mm-hmm. He had a union job, driving a forklift in a factory and all this. But so I was like, I knew him from SOI. I had seen him in passing. I was a gunny at the time. He was a sergeant. I'd see him at the chow hall. I didn't really know him. Mm-hmm. But I see this private, and I'm like, hey. He goes, hey, gunny. Well, I was the first sergeant then. He's like, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing back here? You're a private. What's going on? So he tells me a story. He got busted and this and that. And he's like, I just want an honorable discharge so I don't have to face my kid, when he grows up, that I got kicked out and court-martialed and kicked out. So I'm like, right.
Yeah, okay.
We'll get you to the honorable discharge. But I'm like, you got to freaking be loyal. Because I own you now. You're mine.
It's like the mafia.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, if I tell you to kill your mom.
Now when I call you for a favor,
yeah, exactly.
you will answer.
Yeah. So we did. But mathematically it was impossible. Because they had boned him so hard on his reduction pro and cons at the court-martial that he didn't have enough months left to make up the math to get a 3940, which is what required. So I had to be creative and be like, all right, cool. You're going to, I put him in the mortar section, and every time you move somebody, you give them pro and cons.
Oh.
So he'd hump ammo for the mortarman, then I'd send him over to be with the, assault guys. Then I'd send him over to the machine gun section every 3 months. Every 90 days, I'd move him. And then I'd move him over to a rifle platoon. Then I'd change his billet. You're now the squad leader, pro and cons. Then the semi-annuals come out. And
do you explain to the commander what you're doing? Or are they like, what the fuck are you doing? So, sergeant, were you a first sergeant? You were
I was first sergeant at the time. I was so lucky, man. I never had an officer that I couldn't work with.
Yeah.
That wasn't open-minded or that I couldn't communicate with. Even though, when you're younger, do you think they're all assholes?
Everybody hates hiring, man.
Yeah, everybody hates hiring.
Doesn't matter what level.
Yep. And as you're younger, you always think that they're terrible, and they're not.
Yeah.
They have a different view. It's the same thing that happens, when you're a lance corporal, you're like, why the fuck do we do this? This is stupid.
Yeah.
And then when you're a corporal, you're like, oh, now I know why we do it by the numbers. Oh, they treat me like a child. Yeah, because 8 out of 10 times, if I don't treat you like a child, you're not going to have all the pieces that I need
and
you
I
to
get
have.
Fucked. Yeah.
And I'm the guy I'm fixing the problem.
Yeah.
So anyways, I never had that problem. So all my COs, I could talk to them. They didn't always have to agree, but they trusted me enough. I was loyal enough.
Yeah.
Loyalty goes a long way.
Oh, for sure.
Like, hey, as long as you don't do something illegal or immoral, I got your back. So you want to do something that you and I, as staff NCOs, we may not agree with is the best plan. Hey, you know what? Just because it's not my plan doesn't mean it's not the plan we should do. And if the CO wants to do it, let's do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's whatever.
Did it work, though?
Yeah. So here's what happens. Get them to the honorable point, and then they're offering the bonus for NCOs to do another deployment with the same grunt unit. So I'm like, hey, man, extend for the next deployment, and we'll get you to corporal. So now he's a lance corporal. Like, I know I mathematically I've got it figured out. Now I can get him to corporal. So, boom, he makes it a corporal. And I'm like, extend. And we were doing deployments every 7 months. So 7 out, 7 back. 7 out, 7 back.
What time frame was this? This is the very beginning of the war, right? 2004.
Yeah, it was kind of mid-beginning, first third.
Okay.
You know, I mean, we've been at war now for 20-something years.
2006, 2005 time frame?
That time frame, 5, 6. So I'm like, extend for another deployment. And so I'm doing the math one day. I'm just kind of like figuring out if there's anything else. And I got to give them crazy pro and cons sometimes to make the math work out. So I have to go upstairs, tell Sergeant Major, hey, the CO is going to see some 5050 ridiculousness on Toko. That's the kid's name, Toko, right? And I need you just to have him approve them. And both the SEALs are great, Colonel Smith and Colonel Myrna, Lieutenant Colonels, both of them. Freaking awesome. And the XO, Tipton was the XO at that time.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
That was my CO on the MEU.
Yeah, freaking awesome
Colonel
dude.
Tipton.
Yeah. I saw him scold a young captain or lieutenant one time and sucked the life out of him.
Yeah.
And he never raised his voice. He never raised his voice. He was sitting in the Humvee, and the young lieutenant or captain, whoever it was kind of dark, made some kind of smart ass comment about not wearing his protective gear or whatever. And he looked out the window. We were in Iraq, and he said, "Hey," and he just talked to him for like 30 seconds. And I was coming up the other side, and it looked like he sucked the dude's soul out. Like he sucked it right out of his body.
He wasn't he like an instructor at IOC or TBS or I don't know. Colonel Tipton's done a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
he was a battalion commander with I think 2-7 when they were in, or maybe 1-7 when they went in and took over for the Brits in Sangin. Like he was the first unit into Sangin.
Really?
Like, yeah. Like he's done a bunch of stuff. He's I think he's a Naval Academy. I don't know if he's Naval Academy. I don't think he's Naval Academy, actually. He was a football player in college, though.
I think I remember something about that.
Which you could tell. This dude is like, he was on ship deadlifting and he just throws weights all day. Like, he's a meathead.
And he was an awesome dude. So he's great. And that's the
officers probably don't like him, but.
Well, Colonel Myrna, Lieutenant Colonel Myrna, nobody liked him. I loved him. He was fucking psychotic. I loved him.
Myrna or Tipton?
Myrna.
I don't know. So
Myrna was the CO. Tipton was the XO. He was the XO with Lieutenant Colonel Smith, who's now General Smith.
Yeah.
But anyways, those guys I could talk to them. I could, say, hey, look, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. I'm not setting this guy ahead of the rest of the crowd. I'm just saving him from the disaster of his early mistake. So I'm doing the math. I figured it out.
But aren't they the ones that NJP'd him and sent him up for court-martial?
No, he got court-martialed at SOI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he just... Up until that point when he was at SOI, he was one of the boys, kind of a follower. He was a good guy, but he was a follower. And so some other SOI instructors had stolen some stuff from the privates when they were in the field. No. He found out about it, told him to return it, and left it at that, but never told anybody else. When they finally got busted, he got roped in with the rest of them. And I don't know how deep. According to the story that I know, he wasn't involved.
Yeah.
He had confiscated the guy's computer because he was playing on the computer during Firewatch. Mm. Stuck it in his wall locker. He was going to give it to him the next day. He got a chance to go to squad leader school. He left the squad leader school, or to 20 Palms, the school.
That's all right. You don't have to tell his whole story.
Yeah. He comes back. Yeah.
So he got in trouble for stealing a computer, basically.
Yeah, well, the kid graduated.
Oh, while he was gone?
While he was at school.
Oh, fuck.
So he never thought about it. It's in the wall locker. So, and NCIS did the whole thing. There was no fingerprints inside the case, nothing. There was money in there. There was cash inside the case. So he obviously didn't intend to steal it. He's like, dude, I was going to return it. And then the kid graduated while I was gone, and it was in the bottom of my wall locker.
Yeah, I don't know. That seems sketchy, but you trust him, so I guess I'll trust him.
It's a tough thing, right?
But you're trying to save the guy, which is commendable.
Yeah, we make mistakes.
Because most first sergeants and shit wouldn't do that, I don't think.
No, Zoo was awesome, man. Freaking loyal as hell. And,
Did he end up staying in for...
He's gunny.
Oh, he's still in?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
He'll retire.
Watch your laptops, Junior Marines.
Yeah. But what's great about it is like, so he's a private, and we're in Iraq, and I'm like, dude, you're not going to pull none of that. I used to be a sergeant instructor at SOI. I'm an infantryman, you know. You're going to be a fucking private, but you're going to be the best private in the platoon.
Yeah.
So your job is to assist those people senior to you, same as our job is, always to make the guy above us do well. And he did it in spades. I mean, like, hey, dude, I need you to roll again.
Making him re-earning it.
Yeah, so he earned it. So I look at the thing and I'm like, dude, if we submit pro and cons on him today, he'll make the cutoff for sergeant, which makes him re-enlistable. So we've done 3 extensions. He came back.
Damn, how many deployments did he do?
He did 3 with me.
3 back-to-back deployments? Or both of you guys did it?
Yeah.
Fuck.
1, 2, 3. I think he did. I did. Yeah, 3 with me. But so that's how it works. So like, hey, we're like, hey, if I can get him sergeant, he now is inside the window and he can re-enlist. Because up to then it was all extension. Because he had the court martial, he had all this shit, and the first part of his career or his return was just finishing out the time he owed the government.
Yeah.
And so extension, and I'm like, shit, if he's a sergeant, he meets the criteria and we can submit for re-enlistment.
And back then it was a lot easier to re-enlist.
And Lund, the guy we were talking about earlier, was just retiring from Headquarters Marine Corps. He was a career counselor, and so I could use him and other people I knew to make sure his package made it through.
You can't say it enough. Don't be a fucking asshole. And 2, make connections with people, like network.
Yeah,
and it's not shady. You're not being shady. You're meeting people that can help you out, and you're helping them out. Like, I don't know. I don't see it as being shady or anything like that, but and that's in all facets of life. You need to like meet people, shake hands, introduce yourself, talk to them, and actually get to know them, and then now you have them for something that you need later on, or they have you for something that they need later on, and vice versa. Like,
it's that whole karma, dude. That whole karma. I'm like, so what you do when you make connections? The first thing you do is you offer to benefit the other person, regardless of whether it's ever going to come back to you from them. So if I do you a favor, you're like, hey, I'm moving. Can I borrow your truck? Yeah, rock on. I may never borrow a truck from you ever, but somebody else will take care of me. And so
I know what you're saying.
That's that whole connection.
Just be a nice person. Yeah. When you're a nice person and you're not an asshole, way more stuff comes your way because people are way more willing to work with you and stuff.
Sure, if you can benefit other people, do it. And if it doesn't come back from them, it'll come back from someone else. Or maybe it doesn't come back at all. Just doing the favor is what makes you feel good or whatever. Makes your life better.
Yeah.
So whenever you can contribute to someone else. So that's what happens. We get him to sergeant.
Still at it.
And bam, he can re-enlist. So he's got to do a 2-year probationary re-enlistment. Work every favor I had at Headquarters Marine Corps with the monitors. Used all of that.
Yeah.
And then he decides he wants to go back to SOI and do that again to finish what he started.
Yeah. No, I get that.
And he does. And he does well. And then he makes staff sergeant. And I was like, hey,
what a different time in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
That's like me even being able to enlist with being arrested twice before I joined. Like, that wouldn't have happened in 2014. There's no way, because we were drawing down so much that there's no way that would have happened.
It's all ebb and flow.
Yeah.
But, there is so much you can get done if you just work with people. And some of it is offering to benefit them up front. Like, hey, you know what? I know that your son is over in Horno, and he's by himself. He just got there, whatever.
Yeah. How
about we go over there and check in on him, whatever, yada, yada. And that guy whose son is in 1-1 is the monitor for the 0861 or whatever. He's that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, you never know, especially in the military, you never know who you're going to meet and what future connections that's going to generate. Just because, again, so many people from so many different backgrounds, and it's not just I don't know why people think it's all just poor, uneducated people that join the military.
Well, it's the image that Hollywood wants to portray.
It's unfortunate though, because it really downgrades. I think it really downgrades not only the people but their service as well.
Well, sure, but the lefties in Hollywood, and I will say that even though we're not political, is they have a certain image of America.
Yeah.
And those people that serve in the military are that image. It's just like they always make all the officers look like bumbling fools.
Yeah.
Like they're not bumbling fools.
Well,
there's a few that, there's a few that
I know what you're saying.
That are, they're young.
There's a lot of great dudes.
Yeah.
Tons, and we both have met, fortunate enough to meet so many great dudes.
Yeah. Every once in a while you run into the young guy who's a little too big for his britches, as they say, and he's a little too cocky, and but
there's always a 10%.
Yeah, but the 90% rule is, hey, you know what? If I can make your life better, if I can make you successful, so that was it. Yeah, that's how you do it. You make other people successful. That's what kept me around all that time. You find projects. He was one of my, I had projects all over the place, like, and all right, I'm going to make him successful. Now I'm going to make him successful.
That's an admirable thing. At least you're looking out. At least your projects are to better somebody else rather than, I'm going to. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but people have tons of projects, but that's a good,
It's a good project to have because you're
helping others.
Yeah, because if you help yourself, you're done.
Yeah.
What you do for yourself.
Help someone else or help the institution.
Yeah.
Which sometimes helping somebody else is helping the institution. Well, because now you get to keep a really good person. Yeah. Or you can implement a change if you write a paper or something to the fucking, what's that, Gazette? To the Gazette?
Yeah.
That's the professional reading for the Marine Corps. It's what all the
Gazette and
higher officers and stuff read that. And gosh.
Yeah.
Sit around and sip cognac and talk about it.
It's terrible, too, because sometimes you're like, dude.
That's the image that we should be portraying.
Yeah.
Bunch of dudes sitting around, smoking cigars, sitting around, this is my leather-bound books. And yes, discussing.
Welcome to my study.
Discussing the world and what we're going to do with our Marine Corps. Yeah. No, it's
sometimes that's the problem, though. That whole, hey, dude, you don't have to sound that smart.
Yeah.
You know what?
People that overdo it. You definitely, you have to dumb some shit down. And back to what we were talking about before on the ITV, that's part of the reason that program, I knew the vehicle was great, the vehicle's good, and everything's fine with it. But I knew the program would probably not do very well. Even as a Lance Corporal, I could see, because it's not Marine proof. It's not a Humvee where you turn it, you jump in, and you hit that one switch to turn it on.
Right.
And then you put it in gear and go. Like that, it's not like that. It has air suspension that you have to set at the right level, which is supposed to automatically do it for you. But if that's messed up, now you have individual switches where you can adjust individual height for each wheel.
So in different terrains, I need more pressure, less pressure.
Well, you use that when you're towing the trailer the whole reason for the air suspension was so that it would fit inside the Osprey. The whole point of this thing was to go so you could let it down and... Yeah, you drop the suspension and you also drop the air pressure of the tires, and that helped spread out made the rubber spread out and spread the load out so that it could still fit in the Osprey and be safe, structurally safe.
Yeah.
So the whole thing with the Osprey is a package deal, right? You're getting a lightweight Marine Corps, and that became the Osprey, the M777, and the ITV, and with the 120 millimeter mortar, right? And then you had your LSV, which is the light strike vehicle, it's the 4-person variant that the infantry would use, and also different parts of. They would also be within the firing battery as well. The vehicle itself, I have driven through. Okay, this thing has Fox hydraulic racing shocks with airbag suspension, Willwood disc brakes, like racing disc brakes on it. It was a 4-cylinder, I think it was a Brazilian motor. It was a 4-cylinder, like Brazilian turbocharged motor. It had all these different, part of the problem with it was it had all these different brands of stuff put together, like a project vehicle.
Right.
Like you would get a kit vehicle and build it, but with all different brands of shit. It had some GM stuff, some other stuff. So everything kind of fit together, but it was a little rough sometimes. But on the operator end of it, it was not user friendly because it's not like, Motor T operator friendly. Because that's not. Some Motor T operators are just morons. Let's be honest. You know what I'm saying? Like
drivers, you mean driver operators?
Yeah, operators. Yeah. And not just like Motor T operators, 3531s, but like, 0811s that become now you're driving the Humvee, and 0861s that you're now driving. We all do stupid shit, and that's why it has to be marine proof, and that's why a Humvee, you jump in, hit that one switch, and it's like, oh, I need lights. Here's my other switch.
Yeah, light comes on, start. And
this, if you're in cold weather, you had to you had to hit the switch for the warming blanket to warm up the motor so that it would start. Like because it was cool working on it in the testing because I got to go to Alaska and work on it.
That's freaking badass.
Negative 26 degrees out, and we're out there driving them and just doing shit and fucking doing stuff in Alaska. I went to 29 Palms. I hated being a mechanic, but this was the only time that I got to do cool shit that a lot of guys at maintenance battalion didn't get to do.
Yeah. Strictly
for the fact that they didn't like me when I got there. Okay. I showed up, I checked in, I was like, hey, what's up? I'm PFC Kramer, me and Lance Corporal Martin. We check into maintenance battalion, and they're like, hey Kramer, when you move in, you're married? Okay, are you living out in town or living in the barracks or living on base? And I'm like, I'm going to live on base. When my wife moves here, like she's not here right now, but when she moves here, I'm going to move on base. And they're like, cool. Whenever you go to get furniture or anything, let us know when your NCOs will go with you. And I'm like, okay, well, thanks, Sergeant, but I'm 23.
I bought furniture.
I'm older than you and my sergeant. My platoon sergeant wasn't even 21 yet. He hadn't even. He was like just before he was turning 21. And I'm like, so thank you, but I don't need my corporals that have never lived anywhere except for the barracks to go with me. I'm 23. I've been living on my own since.
Yeah.
I moved out of my mom's house right before I graduated from high school, like 3 months before I graduated from high school. So I've been living on my own since then.
Yeah, I've had an apartment. I kind of got it figured out.
So they're like, fuck Kramer, like Kramer's,
smart ass.
Because I'm one of those guys now. And then let me tell you another story. This is another thing that made them not like Kramer. My platoon sergeant, my wife she's moving down, right? She's coming down. I'm like, hey, platoon sergeant, or hey, corporal. No, I think I was talking directly to the sergeant. I was like, hey, sergeant, my wife's moving down. She should be down here today. If she gets here before we get off work, is there any way I can leave early to go get her on base and help start moving in? Because it was her and her parents. And he's like, yeah, no problem. That's no problem. I'm like, cool. I appreciate it. He's like, just make sure I know about it. Like, make sure to let me know. And I'm like, all right, good to go. So end of the workday happened. They still haven't driven. They still haven't gotten there yet. Go back to the barracks, hang out in the barracks. And she gives me a call like, hey, we're almost there. And I'm like, all right, cool. Meet me at the front gate. We'll go to the visitor center. And I go, and the platoon sergeant doesn't live in the barracks. He lived out in town. And then I go to my corporal, and I'm like, hey, Corporal so-and-so. Sergeant so-and-so told me to let him know when my wife's here, and then I'm going to go help her move in. And he also said I could have the next day off. He's like, you can have the next day off, too.
To finish up.
Finish moving in. I'm like, he's like, all right, good to go. So like, cool. I had Martin. He had a car, so Martin drove me out there to meet her. We start moving in, doing a whole thing, go to bed, wake up the next morning, get a phone call, 6 a.m. Kramer, where you at? It's Sergeant so-and-so. Hey, Sergeant. Hey, I'm at home. You told me I could have the next day off. Or, hey, hold on. Let me think how this went. He calls me. He's like, Kramer, where are you at? And I'm like, hey, Sergeant, I'm at home still. And he's like, why are you at your house? I'm like, you told me I could have the day off when my wife came so that we could get all moved in and settled in. He's like, yeah, but you were supposed to let me know. And I'm like, okay, good to go. I let Corporal so-and-so know because it was after working hours. So he, I let him know.
You're supposed to let you know.
And he's like, he never fucking told me. And I'm like, okay, good to go. And he's like, so why are you still at home? And I'm like, because you told me I could be at home. He's like, all right, hey, good to go. Cool. Be here tomorrow at 06 for PT. By the way, in 2 weeks, you're going to 29 Palms for 6 months. And then he hangs up. And I'm like, what? Because we used to do a rotation where we would send 1 or 2 mechanics out to 29 Palms to work at Camp Wilson on all the vehicles that would come through for the training rotations.
Right, okay.
So you're basically out there working just constant in the desert as a mechanic for 6 months,
Yeah. At Camp Wilson. But they got the Warrior Club now.
Well, yeah. And that happened, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then, and I tell her, she just moved here.
Yeah.
She just had a kid. She just moved here. And now I'm like, hey, in 2 weeks, I'm leaving for 6 months. And then like 15 minutes later, the sergeant calls back. He's like, hey, never mind. You're not going to 29 Palms anymore. Come in tomorrow, 06. And hangs up again. And I thought, I'm like, hey, I guess I'm not going now. I'm like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, things change.
And I came in, and I'm obviously super pissed about this, And what happened? That happened. And so that happened. We ended up not going. Another guy, actually my roommate when I lived in the barracks, he was a shitbag in the platoon. Like the platoon command didn't like him.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those, like, he's kind of a shitbag. We're just waiting for him to get out. But the dude was like, I'll tell you what. And when it came down to that, he's like, you know what? I'm single. And I know this dude just had his wife and kid move here. He's like, I'll go. And he volunteered to go instead of me. And I'm like, you know what?
Yeah,
he might have been a shitbag, but he's a good dude. Like that was a solid fucking move. And then there was another thing that happened, and I pissed him off. Like, what was the other thing? It was like I don't remember. Anyway, there was a few things that happened like that. Oh, that's what it was. When I was trying to move my wife, that's what it was. When I was trying to move my wife there, I was like, hey, I'm supposed to get 10 days of house hunting or whatever, the 10 days off. And they're like, no, that's only for people that are
PCS or whatever?
Yeah, PCSing. Like, you're not PCSing, you're new to the fleet, so you have to use your leave. And I'm like, okay. But I checked into the fleet in February. So it was right after the holidays. I'm a boot. I just took the time off because my kid was just born.
Right.
So I get there and they're like, you have 2 days of leave, so you can't do that either. And I'm like, you guys told me to sign up for a house. Like, you took me and you made me sign up for a house. And now you're telling me, and then they told me, like, you can't go home until you have 10 days of leave on the books. The first sergeant was trying to say that. And now I'm like, now you're telling me that I'm going to have to wait 3 months because that's how long it's going to take to get 10 days of leave because I don't have any.
Right.
Now you're telling me I'm going to have to wait 3 months where I'm living in the barracks and I'm also no longer receiving BAH for my wife to move here. Or I'm no longer receiving BAH to pay for my wife to live until she moves here.
Right.
And one of my corporals is like, hey, man, like, I would request mast. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm new to the unit. I've been here for like a month.
Yeah. And
it's not even.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not trying to be like that. You know what I'm saying? But somehow it went around. They were like, I got called up in the office and there was like 3 or 4 sergeants and they're like, Kramer, we hear you're talking about requesting mast. And I'm like, no, Sergeant. I'm like, this
rumor mill.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. And I'm like, this is what's happening. Like, and I explained it. I'm like, you guys told me to get a house, and now you're telling me I can't go get my wife to bring her down here. So now I'm almost double paying for this shit because you don't get BAH anymore once you receive the house.
And you're a GEO, so you're in the barracks.
Yeah, and this one was like, there are sergeants in Iraq that haven't seen their families in 6 months, and blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, yeah, good to go, Sergeant. I'm like, but they're in Iraq. Like, I'm not.
Yeah,
so,
and that's not the situation here that we're dealing with.
Yeah, so they were all pissed off, and then that's why my wife ended up moving herself down. Her family ended up moving her down because that was a whole situation. And then the whole thing about, so that happened. And then it came around to Easter. It was right before we were in formation for the Easter 96, and they're like, hey, Kramer, go over to Maintenance Battalion, the headquarters, you got orders. You're going to go work on this EFSS project. And I'm like, good to go. Like, what is that? And they're like, I don't know. I think it's something to do with a crane or some shit. And I'm like, all right, good to go. Dude, best thing that could have ever happened to me. I was gone for 6 months. I had never been to the field. I'd never done anything. And I was like, all the dudes that were on that program, for the most part, were all infantrymen and all artillerymen. There were 2 platoons because there was an infantry variant and there was the artillery guys.
Right.
And they were both testing them out. And all the infantry guys, I think, were with like 8th Marines or something like that. They had just gotten back from Ramadi, and most of those dudes were getting ready to get out. That's why they were put on this program. They're like, well, we'll fap them over to this thing and let them do that until they get out.
Their thing.
So all the dudes are senior guys, right? So we'd go to the field, and they're shooting a 50 cal, and I remember the first time, they're like, Kramer. I'm like watching. They're like, you want to shoot? They're like, have you ever shot one? And I'm like, no. And they're like, fuck yeah, you want to shoot? And I'm like, yeah, man. They're like, dude, we shoot it all the time. I get up there, and they're just handing me boxes of ammo, man. Yeah. They just let me rip it. They're like, dude, we don't even care, man. We've been doing it for years. Like, it's one of those things now.
Yeah, just blow it out.
And then they let me shoot the mortar, and like, you know, I got to do all this shit. Plus, I was working on the vehicle, which that sucked after a while because there was a lot of problems with it, you know, trying to get it to where it was consistent. But, man, as a mechanic, I couldn't ask for a better thing to happen to me. And then I got sent back to the unit. I was in North Carolina. We went to 29 Palms, and we went to Bridgeport for that training, and that was cool. I got promoted to Lance Corporal in Bridgeport. They're like, "Do you want a formation?" Like, me and another kid were supposed to get promoted, and we're like, No, we're okay. And they're like, "All right, well, you're promoted then." Like this staff sergeant. So I'm sitting there pinning on my Lance Corporal chevrons, and there was this major swope that used to always talk to me. And he's like, "Kramer, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm promoting myself, sir." And he's like, "Oh, congratulations." He's like, "What the fuck is happening right now?"
I decided I'm a Lance Corporal.
So then I come back to the maintenance battalion. Everyone's like, "Where have you been? Like, did you deploy?" And I'm like, "No, I was doing this other shit." And I was like, "Dude, I got to do all this cool shit. And it was awesome and all this stuff." And then I got back into the maintenance battalion rhythm, which was just miserable, and I hated my life.
Yeah.
And then one day I saw one of the Jeeps driving through the base. And I'm like, "Oh, no way, they're back." I was like, "Fuck, they're back. All right, I'm going to try to get back on this." You know, because I still know the guys.
Right.
And Major Swope was still on the program. My buddy Nick was still on the program. I knew a bunch of the dudes from General Dynamics and shit. So I was like, fuck maintenance battalion. I'm going to try to work my way. Again, this is where I tell people, you got to make your own destiny sometimes.
Yeah, that's the key, man.
So during lunch one day, I saw the vehicles driving, and I'm like, I'm going to go find it. So during lunch one day, instead of eating, I went and I found out where the vehicles were. I'm like, okay, they're over at 10th Marine somewhere.
Right.
So I went over there and I just drove around, so I saw the motor pool where they were at. And I got out of the vehicle, and I'm like, I started walking towards the vehicle, and this dude turns around, it's Major Swope. He's like, "Kramer!" And I was like, "Sir, what's up?" And I throw him the salute and stuff. And we're bullshitting. And he's like, "Dude, do you want to come back?" He's like, we tried to get you to come back, but they said you weren't in the system. Like, they couldn't find your name in the system. So I give us all your information. It was Major Swope and Major Benson. They're like, "Give us all your information, and we'll do a by-name request to have you come back and work on the vehicle."
That's freaking awesome.
And I'm like, hell yeah. And I was a Lance Corporal at the time. And, yeah, they did I went back to my unit and I told them, I'm like, "Hey, they're going to be doing this thing." And they're like, "Hey," my platoon sergeant's like, "Hey, man, I don't want to burst your bubble. But Sergeant so-and-so already got orders. And, he really doesn't want to go, but, he's the one that's got it. And I know that's kind of your project and you want to stay on it, but you're not going." And I'm like, dude, he's like, "Honestly, man, I know the chief warrant officer in charge of this program. He's a dick. You don't want to work with him anyway." And I'm like, "Dude, you don't know anybody with this program. Like, I literally know everybody that's working on this shit." And then I found out they're going to Alaska this time and all this shit. And I'm like, dude, if this other dude gets to go instead of me, I'm going to be pissed. And then one day they came in. They're like, "Kramer, go check into 210. Or go to check into 10th Marines. You're going back over there." And I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So...
But that's the make your own destiny thing.
Yeah, if I had just watched that vehicle go by and I was like, "You know what? Maybe they'll hit me up again. It'd be cool if they did." I would have never gotten it. I had to go and meet the people that I networked with, and I had been around and shown that I'm not an asshole. I'm friends with these people now, and I still keep in touch with some of them. Nick Sissik's one of them. He's over in Afghanistan as a contractor right now. He was an infantry Marine, but he was on that program. He was on it as a civilian. He had just gotten out, and the dudes that were doing the testing, the infantry guys, were all part of his platoon. They were like his boots and shit.
Oh, cool.
So they all knew each other. It was a great time, man. Alaska was cool. Like,
where'd you go out in Alaska?
We went to, there's this place called Bolio Lake Test Facility. You fly into way inland, way into the interior of Alaska. You fly into I can't remember the name of the air base, but it's about an hour and a half away from Fairbanks, I think. But and then the nearest town there was called, we went to this general store, and what you would think of a general store, there's pelts for sale on the wall and shit. They have a rack full of all these different pelts and shit. And the shop owner was missing his nose and the tips of his ears and some of his fingers because he had gotten caught in a blizzard while hunting. Because so anywhere we went in Alaska, no matter where we went, even if we weren't training, we had to bring extra cold weather gear in our sleeping systems with us because the temperature could go from 25 above to 25 below in an hour. If the storm comes in or something like that.
And you don't see it coming.
And you see these people in this little town of it's 600. It's how big it was. It's 600 people. And someone would be missing shit from getting caught out in the fucking snow.
Fucking getting frostbite.
Yeah, and then the actual test facility where we stayed at was 30, 45 minutes away from the town, out in the middle of the sticks, man, like way out in the... My dog's about to pull the microphone over. Way out in the middle of nowhere. Marley, come here.
You'll figure
it out. We saw we got to see the Northern Lights and everything. We got to go to Fairbanks and we got to go to Fairbanks and drink and a couple times. So we got there. The mortars, they had when they were shipping the mortars from Camp Lejeune to Alaska, they were taking them on semi-trucks. Apparently, they had loaded them incorrectly or something. The bill of lading was incorrect. And then they also had left the firing pins in the mortars, which I guess is a big deal.
Yeah.
So when they hit the Canadian border, they got stuck there. And we're up in Alaska with nothing to do. So they got us a duty van, or 2 duty vans, I think. And they're like, hey, man, go to the base and go to the MWR. Like, get shit. Because you could go up there and rent snowmobiles. You could rent snowboards. We went hiking out in the woods, man. I had a lieutenant that borrowed a rifle from the civilian dude who was like a retired Army sergeant major who ran the facility. Borrowed a rifle from him and went and got his hunting license and hunted rabbits, the snow hares. And then we went out and did ice fishing. We went ice fishing and caught a bunch of like rainbow trout and shit like that. And then that's the first time I've ever been ice fishing. Like 6 feet of ice. We're driving the duty van across the lake.
Yeah, that's freaky, man.
Completely full of Marines. Driving across this fucking big-ass pond, lake, whatever you want to call it. It was a lake. And I was just like, this is insane. And so we got to do all this cool shit. Then the vehicles finally showed up. We did all that. We were shooting and doing all that stuff. And then at the very end, we had a big cookout where we ate all the fish that we caught, the rabbits or the hares or whatever they are that the lieutenant had killed. And then the civilian dude brought in a bunch of moose meat, and we made moose burgers. And we had this big-ass fucking cookout. It was a good time, man.
That's got to be freaking fun. That's the stuff you do in the military, though. That's fun.
It was great. We went to, oh, my God, I won't tell everything, but I remember we went to this bar in Fairbanks, right? And this whole time, you got the infantry guys, and you got the artillery guys. So it's a button heads the whole time. Well, fucking pokes, fucking, like... Yeah. And I'm the dude that's like, I'm going in between because I'm the mechanic. So I'm working for both guys. Some days I'm cruising around with the infantry guys. Some days I'm working with depending on who's driving the most is where I was going because I was the head dude. And I remember we went to this bar in Fairbanks and we were all getting hammered. Dudes were hooking up with all these chicks, or not hooking up with them, but like, I don't know, some of them I think were hooking up in the duty van with all these Army dudes that were there, like National Guard dudes. You could tell were pissed because all of a sudden, like a ton of Marines just rolled into this bar, and all these chicks were like, "Oh shit, outsiders!" This is a town of 600, and I don't know what's going on in Alaska, but there's a lot of good-looking women up there, right? And dudes just started talking to all these girls and shit, and everything was, it was cool, whatever. And we're all drinking, having a great time and stuff. And one of the snipers from the infantry guys was getting hammered, and I think his platoon sergeant was like, "Hey, dude, you're cut off. Like, I don't want you, bro. I don't want you drinking anymore." And he's like, "All right, cool." And they're like, "Hey, actually, we're leaving." Like, everybody start making your way, paying your tabs, and this dude walks up and orders another drink. And I think he said, like, "Give me another drink, and I'm going to pay my tab." Yeah. And the platoon sergeant's like, "I told you you're done, dude." And they started getting into it, and I think the dude slammed the drink or something happened. Anyway. They're out right outside the front door. Everyone's outside. All the infantry guys, all the artillery guys are all outside. All of a sudden, these 2 dudes come out and they start fighting, But they're not like straight punching yet. It's getting like they're kind of grappling, kind of punching, I guess. They're kind of fighting there. And one of the artillery guys goes up and punches one of them to knock him off the other dude. And the infantry dude's like, "You just hit one of the fucking grunts," and it just became infantry on artillery like fisticuffs. What do you want to call this battle? I'm inside paying my tab, like, "All right, have a good night." Talking to the bartender,
good.
"Have a good night. I'll see you later." I literally open the door and there's this massive brawl right outside the door. Like, ah! I had one other kid there that was with me that was a mechanic. This kid, we're out in the middle of nowhere, man. We're in the middle of nowhere, Alaska. It's negative probably 15 at this point. It's nighttime. This kid is walking off into the distance on his own. He had gotten punched in the face, And I'm like, where are you going? I go get him, and he's like bleeding and stuff. And he's like, I was just going to walk back. And I'm like, dude, it's
no, you're not.
It's like at least 10 miles, you know, or at least, no, way more than that, because it was 30 minutes from the camp. But yeah, shit like that, man. The shenanigans. It was fun, though.
Yeah, but the good thing about that
the
is
command
it's all
never found
over
out.
Tomorrow.
It was all staff sergeant and below. So no officers or anything found out about it, I don't think. Or if they did, they all kept it cool.
Yeah, like, hey, don't do that again.
But it was pretty funny, though. Yeah, those are some of my memorable times as a mechanic. You know, it was you got to make the best of the situation, and you just have to. I don't know, man.
That's a positive outlook, man.
I'm here. Yep. Like nothing's going to change. Like in the military, I'm like, look, I'm contractually obligated to be here. Like I can't whine or bitch my way out of this, so I might as well make the best of it.
It's always like that. Like, okay, I can sit here and be miserable, and it's going to take longer for it to be over. Or I can just go with it, chill, do whatever I'm doing, and next thing you know, I might actually like it.
Yeah, I didn't like it, but...
No, yeah, that's... a lot of times you're like, God, I'm glad that's over.
Yeah, but I was just grateful that I had the opportunity to get to, like, go to the field and shit, you know, and go do stuff. Because... when you're a maintenance battalion, like I didn't even get issued a rifle until I went to the rifle range.
Oh man, that's gotta suck.
And then when you get done with the rifle range, you clean it, and you turn it back in, and they just take your rifle card.
Yeah.
And then when it's time to deploy, then they give you another rifle.
So I had a buddy that was airframe mechanic or something like that, or air fixed motors in airplanes or something. And we were staff sergeants at the same time, and I was like, how do you? I learned a lot from him. He was an air winger dude, but I learned a lot of leadership from him because he was stuck. Mm-hmm. Him and my motor T buddy that was a motor T chief, they were stuck in that type of situation where in order to make their Marines and sailors feel like part of something greater than themselves, a team, they had to go the extra mile. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like, oh, we're going to have Force Fun Day.
Yeah, that's...
You know, those are okay. They have their
They're
place.
not okay.
Force Fun Days are a requirement. Yeah. I bet it is. Yeah, they're headquarters Marine Corps, you know, they're requirements. Like, hey, you have to have X number of...
events.
This type of event. And you get like $2 a person. It's really funny how the money works. You get 45 cents a person for a company party once a year.
Really?
Yeah, or some, you know, it's a ridiculous amount. Like, I can't buy for $1.50. I can buy hot dogs.
What do you get from the MWR or Single Marine Program or whatever?
I don't know what it is.
Isn't there money? Isn't the money from the Coke machines and shit all fucking funneled through the mafia and then put down to the
problem? It's like anything
MCCS.
Else, anything else the government's involved in, right? Hey, we want to give you free health care after we put 14 people in between you and your doctor. So, yeah, the healthcare is super expensive because those 14 people got to get their skim. It is. It's the mafia. So anything the government's involved in, it gets skimmed off the top, and that's what happens. So you get so much money from MWR and this and that. And it's a ridiculous amount. You know, for a company of Marines, 150 guys, you know, it's $300.
Nobody ever asked the Marines what they want to do. You know, after you left, I don't think you were there. They had a beer pong tournament at the.
Oh, that's a great idea.
At the in the Eagle's Nest at Anglico, at First Anglico, and then a guy got a DUI that night.
Well, of course,
dude. The CO was there. The sergeant major was there. Like it was an actual tournament.
That's a great idea.
It was an actual event, and the unit paid for it and everything. And the dude got a DUI because someone else hit him. Oh. He didn't even do anything wrong.
He didn't even make the mistake.
Yeah, someone hit him, and then they were like, "Oh, busted." But that was one of those events. Like, wow, that's like an actually cool thing. But you know, what are you gonna do?
Well, that's the problem. So here you have, like, for example, the ball, right? You say, hey, it's tickets are $80 a piece because it's expensive to put on a ball.
Yeah.
Right. So tickets are $80 a piece. I can't afford that. Woe's me. You know, and all the fucking crybaby bullshit. Look, I've been buying ball tickets since 1986. When I made $400 a payday, and that was living out in town with 2 kids. So I had 2 kids. I lived in an apartment out in town. I made $400 a payday, and the rent was $495. So half of my
even in the 80s.
Yeah, I went to renting an apartment. And then you had to put gas in your car, get haircuts, whatever, right? But, so anyways, so there's option A. Okay, option B is we do some fundraising. Well, I'm too cool for fundraising. My job's too important. But you do want the benefit of not paying $80 a ticket. But you don't want to put the work in.
Well, a lot of times what happens is we do the fundraising and then they only pay for like the Lance Corporals and below or whatever, or they'll only pay like staff NCOs and officers are always paying.
Yeah, staff NCOs and officers are getting boned. That's the way it is.
Yeah, that's always fucked up. I'm like, you know what, man? If you want to go to it, everybody, or honestly, it should be free, but you're not going to get that.
No.
It's just not going to happen because you got to pay for the venue, you got to pay for everything.
And it's $30,000 worth of stuff that goes into putting a ball together.
When do you how long out do you start planning it?
The sooner the better. I hated the ball.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the ball.
It's probably the bane of the sergeant major's existence.
Yes.
Doing a ball or a change of command ceremony.
I hate it. We go. Yeah, exactly. Well, the reason that you hate ceremonies isn't because ceremonies are inherently difficult. They're not. But there's 19 things that can go wrong, and that's part of the thing. But you never want to fucking let anybody down.
Yeah.
So it's self-imposed stress. Now, there's some guys that don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Or some guys that were competitive. Like, my ceremony. I am the ceremony master.
All you fucking drill instructors, man.
I'm like, yeah, okay, dude, you're a ceremony master. Hey, come over and help me do mine.
Yeah, you want to do mine next month?
Yeah. So there's another part of it, too, is you're going to get judged. Every single person sitting in the reviewing area is fucking nitpicking your shit.
I think a lot of the Marines that are involved in ceremonies, if it involves like the platoons and stuff like that, if they're in, like I've had to do ones where we did a pass and review and shit like that for some master sergeant's retirement. That's what he requested.
Yeah.
And I remember dudes being like, dude, fuck this. This is stupid, blah, blah, blah. But as soon as you're doing it, you're like, all right, I don't want to look like an asshole. Because if you do it wrong, everyone immediately knows it. Because you're in a group of, like, a bunch of people.
You're the only one standing out.
Yeah.
So those are the reasons. That's why I didn't like them.
My cover blew off one
everybody's nitpicking your shit. Oh, yeah, the flag is supposed to be 6 paces. It was 4 1/4 paces. Dude. It looked.
When you say
awesome.
Everybody, you mean all your DI friends that are in the crowd,
and all your and the non-DIs that wish they were, or the.
Are there people like that?
Yeah, there's all kinds. You know how it is. I call them sword chasers.
Wow,
I'm a sword chaser. So that was one reason. The other reason is, they're just a pain in the ass. So the ball is like that. It's a fucking thing. But it's
always a fight to get people to give somebody up for it.
Give up people for the ball. Everybody wants to be the hero, but nobody wants to do hero work.
What would you say if they were like, hey man, hey Marine Corps, we've decided these ceremonies take up too much time, so we're gonna only do like, regimental level change of commands and above only. Like below that, it's gonna be informal. That way the dudes can just fucking work. Because when there's a change of command ceremony, that's 1 week, a solid 1 week where you're losing a dude for at least probably 3 hours a day.
Yeah, but you know what? We're not that productive. We think we're really important. Oh, you're so important. I can't give this guy up. And then the guy's like, hey, my wife is coming. Oh, go ahead and take off early. Or, hey, it's Aloha Friday. We're not as busy as we say we are.
I don't know. I mean, I know what you're saying. I used to let my guys off pretty early when I was at Anglico. Like when they would come, if we weren't, but the whole only reason was because we were always gone. Like when we weren't gone, I wanted them to be able to be like, you know what, I'm just chilling, like in the barracks, like or wherever they chill.
And there's room for that. But 9 times out of 10, from the outside looking in, because remember I didn't start as a sergeant major. I started as the private, so I was on the other side.
Yeah.
So looking back, and I'm like, I know exactly. It's like the guy that says, I'm going to protect my Marines. They're not going on the working party. You ain't protecting them from shit. You're just making them fucking moochers.
Fucking mooch.
And the kid from...
Commie mooch. Get your ass out.
Fucking communist. But the kid from Com, or wherever, that is on all the fucking working parties, he's got to pick up the slack for the quote-unquote operator.
Well, I think that's where you just put the shitbags at.
Yeah, you don't want all your shitbags on the working party either, because the working parties, there's benefit. Man, I used to volunteer for that shit all the time.
For working parties?
Fuck yeah.
Sometimes.
Well,
if you knew what it was beforehand.
50% of the time, working party is nonsense, like on-ramp on ship. You're just
standing there waiting for
throwing shit down into the well deck or whatever. But then the other half of the time, you get to go on like the thing with Alaska and shit. I'm on the working party, and guess what? I'm the one that...
I do tell people to always volunteer for shit, but it's... I'm not a believer. The guys that say, like, hey, don't ever volunteer for anything, I'm like, you know what? You're really limiting your experiences in the military if you do that. However, be smart about it.
I say volunteer for everything, and you learn real quick. I learned, like, never volunteer to provide security for engineers in Iraq.
Go on.
Because you're going to get shot at, first of all, because the engineers are doing engineer shit.
Yeah, they're out there working. And
you're just sitting in the vehicle providing security at an intersection at 2 a.m, looking through your NVGs and shit. And then you get shot at, and then you got to move, and then you got to shoot back. And then they're gone already because they just shot at you to harass you.
Yeah.
Because you sat there for 2 hours.
Yeah, nobody in Iraq or Afghanistan was really, I won't say anybody, but very rarely are they looking for a stand-up, toe-to-toe, we're going to trade lead for a while. It's normally like all right, drop the fucking shit in the field and move over here where they don't see me.
Yeah, and so you don't get to kill people. That's one of the things about being out that really sucks. Is I will never get to kill someone ever again.
I'm sorry. Well, I mean, there's the option, but you may not.
But it's not. I'm a law-abiding citizen, an American, and stuff. So you're never going to get to kill somebody again. And I did miss my opportunity. I always wanted to kill somebody with a crowbar.
What?
With the hook end of the crowbar.
Yeah, I know what a crowbar. You want to hack them?
Yeah, you never got to do that.
I don't know, man. We might need to get you checked out. That's your PTSD kicking in.
Well, you can't be a cop because you got to follow the rules and enforce the rules.
Yeah, people will, again, like I said before, I'm a pro police officer guy, having been arrested twice. I'm still a person. I see a police officer. If I get pulled over, I'm nervous about it. Obviously, just like everybody else. Like you're like, shit, did I do something wrong?
Yeah.
Some people say that you shouldn't have to be like that. Like you shouldn't have to fear the police like that.
It's not fear.
But I also don't. I think the other side of the coin is an unruly world where
you don't want a $400 ticket either.
Well, yeah, I don't want a $400. I don't. My first ticket in many years, and here in California, I ended up getting one was $650.
Yeah.
Fucking pricey, man.
That's why there's different reasons why you're nervous. Obviously, the fear of the unexpected. I don't know what he's going to get me for. Yeah. I know. I was speeding. I was coming down the hill in Arizona. You climb this hill. It's like 40.
Over by Yuma?
It's coming out of Bisbee.
Okay.
You climb up out of this like copper mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 45, this super steep hill. You crest the hill. And then it's super steep going down, but it's a 50-mile-an-hour zone. Well, by the time you hit the top of the hill, you're going 60 because you're pushing it to get up the hill.
Yeah.
And then I crest the hill, and I'm coasting. And I love to coast, man. The Bug is the ultimate coaster. But I was in my truck. I'm coasting. I look down. I'm like, oh, damn, I'm braking 85. Don't even have my foot on the gas, just coasting down the hill. And I see the highway patrol, Arizona Highway Patrol, going the opposite direction.
No.
So I'm like, damn. So I just pulled over at one of the little turnouts and waited for him. And he came,
Oh, really?
Yeah, I waited for him. It was probably like a 3-minute wait. While he got to the top of the hill where it was safe for him to turn around and come back. I knew he was coming back. I had the feeling. If he didn't come back, I'd just drive away.
I can't believe you've pulled over to wait to be cited.
I knew he was coming. And so here's the theory.
He'll be here in a minute.
If he comes and gives me a ticket, he got me, right?
Yeah.
If he doesn't come down the hill in 5 or 10 minutes, I'll just carry on, and I haven't lost anything. I'm still...
That's just... I've never met anybody, I don't think that has ever told me that they said they pulled over to wait on the cop.
Well, you figure...
I've pulled over knowing that I'm getting pulled over. Like, I look over on base, on my phone, I saw a cop look at me. And he saw you. Yeah, he saw me, and I'm like, dude, I'm getting pulled over. So I went ahead and pulled over there. But I didn't pull over, wait for the dude to go down the road, turn around, and come back and get me.
Well, I figured it would work in my benefit. If he came for me...
Did it?
Well, I still got... Well, he did. So what happens is, I'm 80 and a 50. So he does the whole, good afternoon, sir. I'm, Juan Valdez from the Arizona State Highway Patrol, blah, 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 blah. And I do the whole thing. They teach you and put your hands on the steering wheel with all your fingers open. I do the whole thing.
Oh, really? I've never heard that.
Yeah, you put your hands up so he can see your hands.
Yeah.
You know, and like, hey, yeah, you have firearms in your vehicle? Yes, sir. I have one in the door. Yada yada yada. Blah blah blah. You go through the whole process.
Oh, you had a firearm in the car too, huh?
Oh yeah.
But I've never been pulled over with a firearm. What was that like?
It's fine. You're in Arizona.
I'm saying, I imagine in Arizona it's pretty casual.
Yeah, he's like, okay, we'll just leave it there. Do you have your... And he was a new kid. He was a new cop, I could tell, because he went back to the car, and then he came back. He's like, hey, do you have a permit or something? And I'm like, yeah, the U.S. Constitution. No, I'm kidding. Here's my concealed carry permit, yada, yada. And he goes, the only reason I have to ask is because you've got California plates. And so I'm like, yeah, and you got a California license. I'm like, yes, sir, no problem.
Do you have to have a permit? And you have to have a permit to carry it, though.
Well, because you come from California, who knows? I don't know what the...
Were you technically concealed carrying it?
No, it was just in the door.
Yeah.
You know that little pocket in there?
Yeah, but would that be considered concealed carry?
No, I don't think so.
Probably depends on where you're at.
Yeah.
Every jurisdiction's probably different.
Yeah, and in California, if you have one in your safe in your house,
like we heard
concealing it.
They're like, we heard you touch a gun last week. We're going to need you to come downtown and talk to us.
I saw you flip through something on Instagram and you liked a picture of a gun. But
terrorist.
So he gives me 10 miles over is the ticket he gives me.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is $400.
Did he have a high and tight?
No, he had a medium reg.
I would say if you had a high and tight, you knew you were going to get a ticket. If they come walking up with a high and tight, you're like, well, this is a ticket automatically.
No, that's the first ticket I've ever gotten. Every other time I've gotten out of them, they were always like a former artilleryman.
Yeah.
A former Arty guy pulled me over in Gallup, New Mexico. I've been pulled over all over the place, and they're always former Marines, Army, something.
I got pulled over twice on my road trip. Once on my way to Indiana.
This road trip?
Yeah. Once on my way back. I got pulled over in South Dakota. Yeah, it was a... all right, I'll tell the story. I don't care. I was smoking some weed. All right. I had been smoking. All right, we're going to pause. We'll pause unless you go to the bathroom. I want to tell this story.
Yeah, I want to hear this. So.
I have him and I have a Lab Beagle mix. And they're both 13.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so... okay, so my story. I was driving, and I was like, man, I'm driving cross country. I brought a little weed with me. I'm sitting there smoking because I think I had just crossed into South Dakota. I'm driving through the plains.
Yeah, it's just one straight road the whole way.
Yeah, once you get through, because what I had done is hit Yellowstone, and then I went to I went to where Custer was killed, that battlefield, and then I was heading to Mount Rushmore. That's where I was driving, and I was gonna camp up around Mount Rushmore somewhere. Is what I was looking to do. So anyway, I'm driving. This is one of my longer days on the road, and because some of the days I was on the road for like 12 hours. I'd drive 12 plus hours a day because I just wanted to see so much shit.
And you're driving the Jeep?
Yeah. I was driving the Jeep. I ended up doing over 7,000 miles in like 3 weeks.
Now, driving the new Jeep, that's a newer model.
Yeah.
Is that like driving an old Humvee, like with the wind?
No, because that's a hardtop.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a hardtop, so it's not too bad, really. It's actually it's not a bad ride. I'm also a fan of driving long distances. Like, it doesn't bother me. I used to drive nonstop solo from Camp Lejeune to Indiana. I've done that before, and that's probably 12 hours, 10 to 12 hours. And I did that in my Evo, which had Recaro seats in it, which some people don't like, but to me, it never bothered me. So I don't mind. I enjoy driving. Like, I could probably be a truck driver and be okay with it just because I like seeing shit and like driving around. But so anyway, I'm driving, smoking a blunt or something. I think it was smoking a blunt. Put it out, cruising, roll the windows down a little bit, let the car air out. I'm sitting there cruising, and I'm not looking at I'm coming up on an intersection for the freeway or something like that, and I didn't realize the speed had dropped. Like, because you're coming up on like it went from like 80 or whatever it was, because it's higher out there. It's like 75 or some shit.
But this is one of those highways that has an intersection, like the ones in Texas?
Not an actual intersection, but I'm saying it was like, there was like an exit for another highway or freeway somewhere right there. So they usually slow it down, like drop the speed limit like 10 or 20 miles an hour in that area. So it had slow, and I had just crossed into South Dakota as well. So the speed limit had come down. I didn't realize it, man. I'm driving, and then I saw another sign for the speed limit. I'm like, oh shit, I'm speeding. I'm doing like 85 right now. And I let off the gas. And then as I look over, I see a fucking highway patrol car sitting in the median, and whoop comes behind me. And I'm like, oh fuck. Because I'm sitting here like I'm rolling my window down. I'm like, oh shit. Cause I'd smoked within 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it has got to reek in here. So I'm like I'm just like stuffing. So I was camping during this trip, right? So the back of the Jeep doesn't have the seats in it. It's full of camping supplies. Like, I was camping, I was doing podcasts, I was doing all this stuff. So the back of my Jeep's full of shit, including like firewood and stuff like that because I was camping in some spots in like on BLM land, out there by myself.
Okay. And
so the car kind of smells weird anyway. So I just take the bag and I try to shove it behind me into something.
Yeah.
And I get pulled over. The dude, as I'm pulling over, like I said, I rolled the window all the way down. Then I see him coming up on the passenger side, which is what they do a lot of times on the freeway. So I roll the passenger side window down. He's like, hey, how's it going, sir? You know what I got you for? And I'm like, yeah, I was speeding. I was like, I didn't see the sign. Like, yeah, it was my bad. I apologize, whatever. Here's my license. I already had my license and registration out, Handed it to him. And he's like, all right, sir, I'd like you to go ahead and step out of the vehicle and walk back to my patrol car. And I'm like, I'm ripped right now. Yeah. I just smoked a blunt.
That sucks.
So I'm like, hold on, what? No, I was like, what? And he's like, I'd like you to go ahead and step out of the vehicle and walk back to my car. And I'm like,
dude, you're harshing my vibe.
Okay, so I get out of the car, and he's like, go ahead and take a seat as he's standing next to my car, he's like, go ahead and have a seat in the front of the car, in the front seat of the patrol car. And I'm like, okay. And I'm walking to the car, and he's like, hey, just so you know, there's a canine in the back seat, so you're going to hear him moving around back there. And I'm like, no way, man.
This is. I don't know if I can.
Have I never told you this story?
No, this is good though. Keep going.
Oh my god, I thought I had told you this.
I'm making a movie in my head right now.
So I'm walking to this car. Cujo's in the back, and I'm like, oh my fucking god. So I sit down, and I just hear, like going
Holy
on.
Shit.
And the dog's like moving around, and the officer comes in, and then he sits down on his side, right? And I'm like, dude, I have to reek like weed in here. Like, it just,
yeah.
If you're a non-smoker, which I'm assuming this cop is, you can smell it immediately.
Yeah, let's assume that he is. Let's hope so.
So, and then this dude's like, all right, where you heading? He's like trying to have a conversation with me. He's like, where you headed to? I'm like, hey, I'm on this like cross-country road trip. I'm heading to Indiana. He's like, all right. He's like, why do you have your Jeep has California license plates, but you have an Indiana driver's license? I was like, well, I was in the Marine Corps. I got out a few months ago, and I still live in California, though. And he's like, well, you have to change your license out to California license. So I was like, well, I'm a full-time student, so I can still claim residency in Indiana. And he's like, oh, okay, that's cool then. I was like, yeah, and that's where I'm headed. I was like, I'm headed to Wisconsin to see my dad, and then I'm on my way to Indiana to see the rest of my family. And he's like, oh, okay. And he's just like typing his shit up. And he's just like, so you're the Marines, son? What'd you do in the Marines? And I was like kind of talking to him and stuff. But, he let me go, man. He just like handed me a card. And he's like, all right, this is a warning. He's like, don't get pulled over again. He's like, be safe out there. Have a good one. And I got out of that car, man, like no fucking way did that just happen to me.
Was your heart pounding?
Oh my God,
like
dude.
Up in your throat?
Dude, I was like, I'm sitting here thinking like, what are the laws here? Like, I don't even know. Is it legal in South Dakota or where? I think I'm almost certain I was in South Dakota when this happened, but I was sweating it, dude. Especially when he's like, yeah, go ahead and sit in the car and there's a canine in the back. And I'm like, oh, well, fuck me.
Yeah, that would make a great like short film.
Oh yeah,
how
like a little clip. Yeah,
and they always show the stone guy, and he thinks the cop can see his neck going. Dude,
yeah, when you're high like that, every little thing you're like super self-aware. Like I'm sweating. I could smell it. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you're looking at them, imagining what they can see.
He asked me about something in the Marine Corps, and I started going off on a tangent, telling a story. Then I realized what I was doing. I'm like,
oh shit!
But anyway,
you left that part out.
Yeah,
that's a great part of the story.
Yeah, it was just like the whole thing was just like Jesus Christ, man. And then he let me go, but man, I just tried to be cool the whole time, and yes sir, no sir, yeah, this is what I'm doing. Like I wasn't a dick about it, and people will be like, oh, like that had to have been a fluke incident. Even as a dude, as a white dude, like I can't imagine that surprised the shit out of me. Like,
well, yeah, when you get pulled over, it's just natural, I mean, I look at this kid that pulled me over in Arizona, and he was probably 25, maybe.
Yeah.
And he looked like a new guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
He acted like a new guy, but you go through the process, man. Lay all your shit out. Yes sir, no sir, absolutely.
Really threw me off when he told me to sit in his car.
Yeah, that would have freaked anybody out.
That's what I was like, huh?
Yeah, go sit in my car. Like, what am I going to do? Run away? I'm in South Dakota. It's like nothing but highway for 1,000 miles.
Yeah, it's you're out there, man.
Yeah, you're just going to catch me.
It was an interesting...
What was what?
It was an interesting, segue in the trip, just that happening.
Yeah, I bet your heart was beating out of your throat, man.
Oh, my God, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Got back in the car, I was like, where's the rest of that blunt? I got to...
Yeah,
gotta fix my nerves.
As soon as this guy's gone, I'm gonna have a beer. And
no, it was great though, man. That was a great time. The trip was great and everything, but yeah, that was sketchy. You'll have that though. You just gotta don't be an asshole.
Yeah, and they're not out to get you. The whole thing about cops being out to get you. So when I was a kid, I ran from the cops. I had a 72 Nova.
You ran from the cops? Really?
In my car.
Little police chase?
Yeah. I did a bunch of those, but this is the one I got caught at.
Did a bunch of those.
Back before you...
felon.
Well, before you figured out that a radio was a lot faster than any car you own.
Oh, yeah.
So my cousin had a 70 Nova, and I had a 72. And we met at the stoplight on the main drag.
Nice.
So we're like, vroom, 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 and I had a 327, and he had the stock 305, so I knew I was going to smoke him, but his was nicer. It had, rims and shit.
Yeah.
Anyways, we take off, right? And the cop wasn't even chasing us. He was chasing someone else, but he turned around to get us because we made so much noise. So I hang a left, I hang another left, go down a back street, and I know that the street lights are out on this one street where used to be a Trailways bus station, and I know the streetlights are all knocked out because we'd get drunk and shoot them out with BB guns and shit, right? So
Where is this at?
It's in New Mexico.
Okay.
So I'm like, yeah, I know if I hit that street, there's no light, and I can go lights out, and I can zip down and then come back around and maybe make it back to the other side of the highway before. But I don't make the corner. So I'm like 4 blocks ahead of him, and I'm doing good. And I'm like, I'm 4 blocks ahead of him. I can make a couple turns. He'll never find me. I make the turn. And that car was so light, little Nova. Mm-hmm. I spun around 360, hit the median, knocked the tires off the rim on one side.
Oh, shit.
So now I'm in the opposing lane of traffic facing the wrong way. And, I hit this. Of course, we didn't wear seatbelts and shit. So I'm like in the passenger side back seat of the car. I climbed to the front seat. I can't find my glasses. They flew off somewhere. I'm trying to start it and trying to find my glasses at the same time. Get the car started, and I look up over the dash, and there's a cop car sitting nose to nose with me.
Oh,
so
fuck.
Yeah, and those guys, they were like, the one guy was pissed. He was like, we were off, right? We were going back. It was the end of our shift. That was his opening line. He just
ruined his night.
Yeah, well, I opened the car door, right? He's like, get out of the car, and do the whole, gun thing and everything. I opened the car door, stick my hands out, and I had one of those big stiletto switchblades, the ones that are like a foot long. It's like a novelty item.
Yeah.
They used to get them at truck stops.
I know what you're talking about. I remember them.
Big, huge thing, and it falls out, ka-clang, and I stick my hands out, I get out, and the cop comes up, and he's like, we were at the end of our shift, right? And he throws me on the hood of the car, cuffs me and does the whole thing. But even those guys... They weren't out to get you.
Did you get in trouble for it?
Yeah. They took me. I was like 16 or 17.
Oh shit!
Yeah, they took me, set me in the police station, and they're like, "Yeah, if you'll sit there like a man, we'll take the handcuffs off." I'm like, "Dude, you could throw me in jail. Don't call my dad. Just leave me here. I don't care. Throw me in the drunk tank with those guys. Don't call my dad."
They call your dad?
Oh yeah, yeah. And then you know what he says? It's like 1:00 in the morning. He's like, "I'll be there tomorrow."
Yep.
So, and because you're a minor, they couldn't throw me in the cell with all the real criminals.
Yeah.
So I had to sit there in this chair. It's a real rinky-dink police station, you know. It's rinky-dink nowhereville. Sit in this chair with handcuffs on till like 9:00 the next morning when my dad finally got his coffee. And
How long did you live in New Mexico?
about 5 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Small town?
Yeah.
Like how small? What are we talking?
20,000 people probably.
Yeah, that's pretty small.
Yeah.
Do you have more than one stoplight?
Yeah, but only because, you know, there's probably some government contract that somebody got paid off to put some extra stoplights in.
You think so?
Yeah. No, there's like 20 of them in town, but in reality, there's one major intersection.
Yeah.
You know.
I think, where my ex was from, in Delphi, Indiana, there was like one stoplight in that town.
And a real one stoplight town?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I went out to Dayton, Indiana. If people follow my stories on J. Kramer Graphics on the Instagram page. When I was home, Shannon Hoon, I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He was a lead singer for Blind Melon. They sing that song, No Rain.
I've heard of Blind Melon, but I don't know.
You know the Dancing Bee song? All I can say is that my life is pretty plain. Come on. I'm not going to sing anymore. That was pretty bad.
No, you're probably really good at it. I've just never been the guy that can. I'm like,
he was like a 90s. He's like a 90s rock dude.
Okay.
Early 90s. Blind Melon, but anyway, he OD'd like a lot of the early 90s, people did. And he's from a town in Indiana called Dayton, and there are no stoplights in that town. I think there might be one stop sign.
Oh, geez.
Like through the main road. There's obviously stop signs on little side roads, but through the main road that cuts through the town, the highway meaning a 2-lane road. Yeah. The state highway. Like one stop sign. So, but yeah, I went and visited that dude's grave at the cemetery. I hadn't done that since before I joined the Marine Corps. Used to go out there when I was in high school. So he went to my high school before I did.
Okay.
The rock star dude did. And Axl Rose went to the high school across town from, Guns N' Roses. That's how Blind Melon kind of made it.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, they started out as an opening act for Guns N' Roses. And so he died while I was like probably in elementary school, I think. And I didn't know him because I lived in Tennessee at that point. I moved up to Indiana, and when I went to high school, people were like, Shannon Hoon, this dude's from here. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And you'd go down to his grave in the cemetery in Dayton, and it wouldn't be uncommon to run into someone down there. That's like going to his tombstone to like smoke a joint or something like that. And
okay.
And every year I think it was on his birthday, they just recently stopped it. Every year on his birthday, there was like a big, I don't know if it was sanctioned or not, but thousands of people would come out there and they'd have like a fucking thing at the cemetery, like a vigil and stuff, and like smoke weed and listen to his music and shit.
And have a party. That's kind of cool. There's a dude, I know what you're talking about. They do that stuff. There's a guy from like Santa Fe or somewhere out there. Some hippie dude from the 60s or 70s, rock and roll guy. Yeah. And he's buried out there. And same thing. They all go do their hippie thing.
Yeah. And it's a small town, too. My brother-in-law, my sister's husband, his family was friends with Shannon Hoon's family. So Shannon Hoon's grandma, who they wrote a song about her, one of their songs is about her, was at my sister's wedding. And there's a photo of her and I dancing. She's like, oh, I was in my blues. Then my sister, they wanted me to wear my blues. She's like, you're the best looking guy in here. Come dance with me. So it's me with this little old lady dancing. And then out of like nowhere, she busts a harmonica out of her like purse and just starts jamming. It's like 90-year-old woman just starts jamming on the harmonica at my sister's wedding. And it was cool. So
that's freaking cool as hell.
It's a weird small town. Yeah, and then like I said, Axl Rose went to the high school across town. He went to the city school. We went to the county high school.
So that's I'm surprised somebody hasn't marketed that. You don't have to go overboard, like they try to redo
market what?
marketed the guy's grave and the festival. Make a festival out of it.
Nah, they stopped it. The town itself is so you got to remember, Indiana, weed is still illegal in Indiana. Every state around it now, I think almost every state, maybe not Kentucky, but every state like Michigan's, it's legal. Illinois, it's legal. I want to say it's legal in Ohio medicinally, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Indiana just started last year selling alcohol on Sundays. They wouldn't even sell it on Sundays.
Yeah.
And so the town that it's in is one of those two cop towns. There's like one dude works day, one dude kind of deals.
Right.
And they don't like all the hippies and shit that come down there. They don't even like people. If someone's at the grave, like if it becomes like a thing, they'll drive down there and kick them out of there because it's private property. I don't know if it's considered private property or not, but you're not.
Well, yeah, the cemetery probably belongs to
I don't think you'd want to market something it'd be cool to have a festival, but not at the cemetery.
Well, yeah, you do it next to the cemetery in the field next to it, and then part of the deal would be to go to the grave or listen to the guy's music.
The thing is maybe if it was like Axl Rose, that would probably be something that they did. But Blind Melon kind of died right when Shannon Hoon died. He was the lead singer. He died like right when they were making it. They had just played Woodstock in 93 or whatever it was, or 94, 90, whichever.
They've been trying to redo.
I think it was Woodstock 94. He played Woodstock 94, and then they had come out with their new album. And then while he was coming out with their new album, he'd gotten into drugs real heavy, and he OD'd in New Orleans. They found him on the tour bus after a concert, I think, or while they were down there doing something, they found him on the tour bus. But he never made it like superstar famous.
Yeah.
So once, the people of my generation that were like a couple years, like a decade behind him in age, the people I went to high school and stuff with, like we all know him, and it's like a local thing, but the younger crowd aren't going to know who he is.
Yeah, no.
Because they didn't make like a massive impact on music or anything.
Well, that's the thing is you don't have to market it to everyone, just as a local festival, like the Oceanside Turkey Trot or whatever.
Yeah, the family did it. I mean, it'd be cool to have like a little music festival.
Any of that stuff, man. I took my wife to see a Grateful Dead cover band at one of the breweries out in Vista, right?
Yeah, I actually saw your thing on either Facebook or Instagram. You put it up.
Yeah, when they were playing.
Yeah.
So
I like Grateful Dead.
She don't know who they are, right?
What?
So I'm like, hey, let's go see the Grateful Dead, cover band at this place in Vista. And she's like, I don't want to listen to them death metal music, whatever. And I'm like, no, babe, it's not that. It's
People see their album covers and that's what they think.
That's exactly what it was.
They're like, oh, this is like some weird death metal shit.
Yeah, death metal screaming, and I'm like, no, there's like hippie dudes.
It's a hippie jam band, man. They're a jam band.
And I'm like, everybody there is going to be probably in their 50s and 60s, maybe even into their 70s. But I was wrong. There's a wider spread of people that are into that band.
Grateful Dead is one of those bands that they've always been kind of a underdog in the music world kind of deal. They've never been like they were huge in the 60s, but it's all been underground kind of stuff.
Yeah, they just kind of play, and however it works out, I guess.
And I saw Dylan and the Dead in 2000, maybe it was 2004. It was all the other members of Grateful Dead except for whoever replaced Jerry Garcia as the lead singer, who, from what I could tell, looked just like the fucking dude. Yeah. It sounds just like him. And then Bob Dylan opened for him. So
that's got to be cool.
Yeah, it was a cool concert. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I like that kind of vibe. We went to see another one that's got a bunch of Santana guys.
Oh, okay.
And it's a cover band, obviously, but they're some of the original guys or whatever. And they do the same thing. They market themselves that way. They wear the same, Wire shirts and stuff. And
the Blind Melon has one as well. Blind Melon has one. Sublime has Sublime with Rome now. Once their lead singer died. And I saw Santana when I was a kid, actually, in concert. When I lived in Tennessee. Yep. I've been to a lot of concerts. A lot of everything from like Santana and like Lynyrd Skynyrd to Korn and like Hatebreed, I used to go to concerts like crazy back in the day.
Yeah, do the whole widespread. I tell you, one of the best concerts I ever went to was James Brown.
Oh, wow. You saw him in concert?
I saw him in concert twice. Once at the Federal Hotel in San Francisco. It's a pretty cool place.
Yeah.
It's old, historic, 100-year-old place or whatever. But I saw him in Camp Pendleton. So you know where the paintball park is?
Yeah.
That used to be the rodeo grounds.
Oh, okay. It makes sense. It's across from the stables.
Yeah. And so there used to be rodeo. You used to have rodeo twice a year.
Really?
It was freaking awesome.
That'd be cool.
It was a blast. They had rodeo, and then they'd have like a Tex-Mex thing. But they would also have a lot of concerts there. Mm-hmm. And so, the mobile, same thing they do at Del Mar Beach, but they do it over there.
Yeah.
And they had James Brown. So I had a Japanese exchange student. She was like 19 or 20. My kids were all little, and we took her to the James Brown concert. And so you know how they're a little more subdued.
Reserved?
Yeah, reserved, the Japanese girls, and they're, especially the college kids, are like, hey, I'm here to learn about American culture. I'm like, all right, you're about to get a dose of it. Yeah. So we go to the James Brown concert, and he's rocking.
Oh, I'm sure. I've heard high energy.
Yeah, he's going, and he's singing It's a Man's World. And there's a drunk lady behind us yelling, no, it ain't. No, it ain't. And she's mad. She's mad, and her husband had it out a little bit earlier.
Oh.
So she's pissed, and they're blasted. The husband had smoked it back to the beer trailer to get more beer or whatever. James Brown is singing It's a Man's World, and she's screaming at the top of her lungs, it's not. And the little Japanese girl is like, I'm like, no, don't worry about it. It's just how it is.
Yeah, drunk people.
Yeah, just don't sweat it. It's cool. But, it was a good concert. She enjoyed it. And then, of course, I hit a bus with my Cadillac on the way home.
Oh, man. Nice.
Yeah.
Good job.
So I was like, yeah, this is Introduction to America. James Brown concert, drunk lady behind me. And then I rear-ended a city bus. And the bus driver was like, hey, dude, I don't want to do any paperwork. I'm like, yeah, me either.
Me neither. Let's let it ride.
Yeah, so I drove away, and she started crying. The Japanese girl was like, oh, my God, we're going to go to jail. No, we're not. This is America. We don't worry about
freedom.
This. Yeah.
Nah. Yeah, that's concerts were my thing, man, for a long time. Concerts. I just like good music.
Yeah, I like good music. The only other thing with concerts is there's too many damn people.
Yeah.
Everything's too damn expensive. So.
The thing that bothers me at concerts now that I'm a fucking old dude, I guess, or I'm just lazy. If it's like a mellow concert, like a nice, cool jam band, and they're just jamming, I don't know why people fucking stand up. It's like sit in your fucking seat. Like if you're sitting in the seats, because we used to go to the lawn, and it's the lawn. The lawn is what the lawn is.
Yeah.
The lawn's a party, and it's just. But if you're paying for the seats, unless it's like a metal band where dudes are up and rocking and stuff,
or
like
they're
if it's
flying
just
around or whatever.
Yeah, if it's just mellow, sit the fuck down.
Yeah, I hate that.
Dudes do it at sporting events too.
Yes.
It's like let's just sit down and relax.
I know what it is. It's another one of those human triggers. Like you have to stand up.
Well, once someone does, you have to.
Yes.
Because now you can't see.
And you think you can't see, and so that. But I same thing, man. I'm like, sit down, bro.
Yeah, but concerts are great. I've been to a lot. I went to a symphony here in San Diego.
How's that?
Like a year ago. It was pretty good. There was a guy there who it was a concert, and this dude knew what they were playing. Like he knew this song, and it was like an hour-long piece, like the piece that they were playing. Damn. And this dude was over here air drumming it and like rocking his head to this symphony music, like just going at it. And at the end, you could just see him. Like, I don't know.
He knew
it was funny to watch him because he was like into it, like a dude you'd see at like a metal concert would be into that. They'd be like singing the songs or singing the lyrics and like going with it. And this dude was just doing the same thing, but it was with a symphony. If you're not into that though, and you're just not, you got to find a shorter one to go to because that, like I said, that was an hour-long piece. If you're not into it, you'll probably fall asleep. We had a kid with us that fell asleep. It was like...
Yeah, that happened to me. We had to go to some play thing in L.A. at the Symphony Hall in L.A.
Okay.
It was a real big thing, everybody's in tuxes and stuff. And
nice.
It was one of my kids' classes or whatever. And I was like, dude, I'm dying trying to stay awake.
Well, another good way to do it is if you're in San Diego, they do... Like, I can't remember what it's called, but right there on the water, they set up a giant movie screen, and then the orchestra is set up in front of it, below it, and then they play the score of the movie.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So if you're watching Star Wars, they're playing all the music live. So you're listening to them play, and they're watching it too, and they're playing their piece, and they stop. They stop
when there's dialogue.
You forget that. Well, I mean, if the movie has the music, they still play it, but if you forget that there's a band there because they're so good, and you're watching the movie.
Yeah.
But then every once in a while, you're like, oh shit, these dudes are. And then sometimes I'm like, are they actually playing this? Because it's weird because it's how good it is. It's like, that's crazy.
You know what's a good one that I want to check out is the 1,000 instrument one.
I don't know about that.
So they do it I think it's in Italy or France or somewhere. It's in an old, like in the Bastille or whatever, in an old castle type place. Mm-hmm. And they'll play a song, but they'll use 1,000 musicians is the plan. So if it's a guitar song, there's 1,000 guitars, and they're playing.
Holy shit!
They're in a big like horseshoe, and they have to all play exactly in tune, and they record it.
That's some shit you would see in like China or Korea, that they would because those are the ones that really perfect some stuff like that.
Yeah, it's one of those things. But you can see them on YouTube or whatever. 500 horns play this thing or whatever, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've never been to one like that.
But it'd be great to hear it.
What do you think is the best concert you've ever been to?
I haven't been to as many as you have, that's for sure. Most of the ones I like are like little no-name bands in bars.
Yeah, that's cool.
Because I like to be able to have a conversation while you listen to music, you have a conversation, you get something to eat. I can't just sit there and watch some guys play music. That's
not about that life, huh?
That's just kind of boring to me,
Yeah.
I got to be doing something. It's like my wife used to always tell me, when people come over, don't put them to work. They're guests. And I'll be like, hey, dude, you know what? You know how to do this. Help me do this in the garage. Here. Yeah. And she's like, you always do that. And I'm like, well, that's because that's what guys do. They work on stuff while they visit. They don't just sit there and visit.
Yeah.
Maybe I've matured to where I can do that, but
yeah, there's nothing I like working on a car or something like that. You can just sit there and BS while wrenching away. Just kind of, you got to have time away from. You got to have dude time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like I like to take my kid and just go out to the woods and shit. Get outside, get away from everything, and just have some like outdoor guy time, away from women, away from computers, away from just
and just doing stuff. That's how you learn how to turn wrenches, how to do whatever. You just do it.
I taught him and his buddy how to make a fire with like the flint and stuff like that last time, and try to teach them little shit just to
that stuff that'll go forever. The stuff
basic
like
skills.
Fixing a dryer.
Yeah.
Dryer is super simple. There's a motor, there's a heat cylinder, the different things. Teaching them how to fix a dryer or how to shut off the power at the breaker box so you can fix an outlet.
I'm like that. I'm cheap. So I remember like my washer breaking when I lived in base housing, that we had bought, they were our washers and dryers.
Yeah.
And getting on YouTube, how do I take this? Diagnosing the problem myself, reading the forums of what it could be.
Yeah.
And then, okay, I think this is what it is. And then going on YouTube to figure out how to do that. And I've taken before I sold that washer, we had that washer for probably 10 years, 12 years actually, because I bought it when I joined the Marines, and then I sold it when I got out. Actually.
Oh yeah, they'll go forever.
It was a LG or a Kenmore or something like that. I don't remember, but same. I would get online and I'd look it up, and that's what I would do is take the fucking
take it apart,
take the top off, take this off, remove this, do this. Oh hey, it's a bra pad or something fucking stuck in the
exactly. I was in
drain.
I was in Albuquerque and my wife's mom's dryer quit, and they bought it used, and it's they probably paid $40 for it or something. Same thing, man. I'm like, all right, I know that electricity has to get from here to there. So if I take this piece out and you turn it on, I don't die. Hold these two wires together, and it turns on, then it must be that's broken.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of stuff.
That's just logical troubleshooting,
right? But that's the kind of stuff you could teach kids.
You have to introduce that thought process early for sure.
Yeah,
to think through something logically.
Yeah, step 1, step 2, step 3.
But so I had one person hit me up on Instagram.
Uh-oh.
That asked, which is funny after the story I already told you, is weed federally legalized. Will Marines ever be toking up at barracks smoke pit? You think the Marine Corps will ever legalize it for the Marines?
I don't think so.
You know, the Canadian military, it's legal.
Yeah, but they're the Canadians.
They're Canadians. They can have beards.
Well, that, and they have a union, and they're totally different system.
Oh, really? They have a union?
Yeah, they have a union type.
Huh.
They have representation.
Well, they have a military. Are they like the UK, where if you join, you don't have to get promoted? You could be the lowest rank the entire time.
I don't know. I don't know how their thing works. But the only thing that anything that's mind altering, we've ruined alcohol for the Marine Corps. Deglorification, all the club system's gone. So now you're going to introduce something else that's, I don't think so.
You think it's a bad thing that people aren't drinking as much?
Well, I don't know. I mean, so here's the thing. When we were young, we got drunk in the barracks and we tore shit up.
Yeah.
But then you got punished by fixing the shit you tore up. Mm-hmm. Or doing something else. Filling sandbags, beautifying the CP, right? Now, if you tell somebody to do that, they may come back with, oh, I'm being hazed. They made me fill sandbags. Or,
yeah.
Well, okay, then you'll just NJP you.
Yeah.
Would you rather have your career ruined or just do something that helps out the whole, I used to have, one of my friends was a lady that run the PX in Mateo. They put this gravel stuff out there, that gravel ground covering. Mm-hmm. I'd have Marines that get in trouble doing stupid shit. I'd have them pull all the weeds out of that gravel.
Yeah.
And paint the curb in front of the PX. So anytime, that's how you do them a favor. That's done. This kid wrecked his car into the building outside of Talaga, DUI, covered that shit up, had him pulling weeds and fixing stuff at the PX.
Yeah, you can't do that anymore. The extra military or the extra duties or whatever, they can't. They've cut back on a lot of the shit that they can do for that. Like,
well, there's a trick to it. I don't know how it works now, but there used to be a trick. There's a paper you fill out where you actually list the EMI. And the EMI had to have something to do with the crime that he committed or the offense or whatever.
Yeah.
But you can be creative.
Yeah.
Dude was late all week long. Okay, I'll make him do something that takes a lot of time that requires him to plan. You're going to pull weeds in front of the PX. That's going to require you to do planning. You're going to have to get trash bags. You're going to have to lock on the time, but the CO has to sign off on it.
Yeah.
And so he kind of puts his name on the line when he says, okay, you were really creative about this being late, and so we're going to run First Sergeant's Hill 7 times within a time limit to teach you the use of time. And he's signing off on that. So he's kind of putting himself on the line to...
Yeah. If there's ever like a...
Yeah, if the kid dies, oops.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, they've stopped a lot of stuff. I remember when I was first at Lejeune for like the first probably 5 years, there was the Brig Marines would, every day you see them out there police calling from main side on Lejeune all the way out to the front gate and then out into Jacksonville a little bit past the gate.
Yeah.
They'd go like another quarter mile, down the highway right in front of the base. And I remember coming, I think it was my 2011 deployment. I came home and it was all contractors doing it, like other people doing it. And they're like, yeah, they don't do that anymore. So now we're paying people to do it. The Brig Marines aren't doing it.
Instead of paying somebody.
Now who knows the thousands of dollars that they're paying, because it's not one or two people cleaning this shit up and maintaining stuff. It's a whole group of people, it's just.
Well, what the demise of the EMI or, doing push-ups when you drop your weapon and stuff, the demise of that wasn't that you were doing push-ups when you drop your weapon. It was people taking it overboard. Yeah. So,
which happens all the time.
Yeah. I got a kid one time. I was a corporal. He dropped his weapon, and I was like, hey, oh, no, he didn't have his rifle card. We were going to go to the armory, and, and you brief, the night before, you brief everybody what we're doing. And Mike Ward, and he was senior lance corporal when I got promoted. He didn't have his rifle card. And I was like, hey, 25 push-ups. And he's like, no, we're going to go see First Sergeant. I'm not doing 25 push-ups. So I went to see First Sergeant. I'm like, yeah, let's go, bro. So we go see First Sergeant. He's like, no, corporal tells you to do 25. You do as many as you can. And then he pulls me to the side. He says, hey, you could have just said 10. 10 would have been reasonable. 25 is not a difficult amount.
I'm like, hold on, 25 is not unreasonable.
Yeah, it's not that it's a difficult amount. That's how you end up going too far. You start with 25, then you put your foot on his back, this kind of weird shit.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, hey, it's because 10 is nothing, but you do 10 times a day, now you got 100, or whatever. But that's what I think is the demise of that. They think it's like IT. When you IT a recruit, the purpose of IT isn't to hurt them. It's to just reinforce the behavior.
Yeah.
So
you're training them.
Yeah, I don't need to kill the kid. I don't need him to be thrown up and pass out from heat exhaustion. I just need to do what it says on the card and move on so that he gets the positive reinforcement. I think PT is positive, so positive reinforcement or whatever modifies behavior.
It's funny because by the end of boot camp, you have dudes that are like wanting to get IT'd almost. You see volunteering to go on the quarterdeck and shit.
Yeah. I'll go.
Yeah. Those bunch of fucking moto dudes. Those are the dudes. I remember a dude who got out and had got a 3rd Battalion logo tattooed on his tricep because he was a 3rd Battalion recruit. And I'm like, come on, man. Like, even as a PFC or private, I'm like, come on, dude.
I know better than
stupid.
That. Yeah.
Like, you're going to regret that, Yeah. But
well, you were older,
maybe
too.
He didn't. Yeah. That was the difference. Yeah. I was so mad when I didn't get to join right out of high school like I wanted. I was super pissed about it. My own fault, obviously. But looking back, I'm glad I didn't because I got to learn to live on my own. I lived on my own for 4 years. I moved around and stuff like that. I had a couple different apartments. I had roommates. I had times when I didn't have roommates, stuff like that. But I learned to live on my own. I lived right next to Purdue University. So not all my buddies, but I had buddies that were going to Purdue and I was working. So on the weekends, I would just go over there and party. I got a buddy that lived in one of the houses over there, the Gemini house. And I would just go over there and fucking party. It was like, I didn't even have to pay for alcohol and shit when you go over there because that's part of their, part of being in a fraternity, sorority, and stuff like that is they pay a house fee and they pay a social fee. And the social fee, it's like $250 a month or whatever it is, or a semester. And they take all that and they pull it together, and that's their funding for their parties through their official parties throughout the semester. And they'll have like a couple parties that they usually do in conjunction with like a sorority house or another fraternity or something like that. So I would go and they would the beer is already there. Like it's already paid for. It's already, and I met a lot of people, met a lot of everybody and it was good times.
Well, that and you got to expand a little bit.
Exactly. I got to learn. My brain got to develop a little bit.
Yeah.
But I was working, I had, and that's why when I would tell people, I was getting after my first 4 years, people were like, I'm getting out, fuck this. And I'm like, dude, just so you know, like this is an easy job.
I know.
Like the Marine Corps is an easy job. You just show up, get paid. Like, you're getting paid. It's one of those things you don't even think about it while you're in.
Yeah.
Like, how much am I getting paid this week? How many hours did I work? What am I getting paid? Am I getting paid?
Do I have to put in for overtime because I need more money?
Yeah, in the Marine Corps, you know what you're getting paid. Every week. You know it because it comes every week. And, if you get it every year, you get a little bit of a raise, depending on who's in the administration and the budget. And then when you get promoted, you get a little bit of a raise. But it's easy to plan your life around it because you know what you're going to get. Well, and in the real world, if you suck, you're still going to get paid.
Yes.
Even if you suck, you're still going to get paid. Even if you're an asshole and you don't do your job, we're gonna make you pull weeds and do stupid shit. But you're still going to get paid.
Yep.
In the real world, if you don't show up to work on time, you get fired. You're not getting paid anymore. Yep. Now you run into the dire straits of like, where's my money coming from for my rent and shit. But,
well, people always say that. They're like, oh, well, I just want to be able to get out so I can tell my boss to go screw himself if I don't want to work here anymore.
And you can, but
that's not realistic because you still got bills to pay.
Yeah.
You still got a family, whatever it is.
But the easiness of the Marine Corps is also why you have some people that should have been kicked out or should have gotten out stay in.
Yeah.
Because they realize how easy it is and they're like, fuck, I don't want to get out and have to. Because you can't skate and get away with some of the stuff that you do while you're in the Marine Corps. It's like a union job. Yeah,
exactly.
Once you're there and you're working, like it's hard to fire the dude unless something major. And this is not just like a union job, but like a government job. Like the process to get somebody kicked out is
It's not easy. And that's the other part about gratitude. People are like, oh, we only got a 1.9% pay raise. I'm like, dude, be grateful. There's people out there that have been working 20 years in the same factory or whatever. Mm-hmm. They didn't get no 1% this year, and 1% last year, and 1% the year before.
Yeah.
They haven't gotten a raise in 10 years.
But that's also their decision to stay in that job, too.
No, yeah, but it might be,
But I know what you're saying. People,
who knows?
People need to understand that the military is a spectacularly easy job.
Yes.
As long as you're not an asshole and you don't make it more difficult than it has to be.
Just do what you're supposed to do. Try to be successful, help other people, and be grateful for what you
There's some moments where it's tiring and stuff like that, but it's definitely you walk away from doing some of the stuff you do, and it's just like, dude, I'll never be able to do that anywhere else. Like, I don't know, it's just an awesome opportunity.
Yeah, where else can they pay you to kill people? They pay you to stay in shape.
That's one of the biggest things. I was telling my brother-in-law when I was home. We took those 2 new rifles out and we're shooting them along with a bunch of other guns. And I was like, dude, I really miss having free ammo.
Yes.
Like now I have to pay for fucking ammo. This sucks because he has an AR-15, so we went and bought a couple boxes. And I'm like, this is nothing.
I know
this is basically nothing, and it's expensive.
Minutes. Yeah, I went to shoot the 45 with my dad when I was in New Mexico, and I brought a box of shells, right, a box of ammo. Mm-hmm. And then 4 magazines. And we shot through that in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I went back inside the range and bought 2 more boxes, and we shot through that. And I'm like, damn, yeah,
Before you know it, you've spent almost $100 in ammo.
Exactly. And I'm like, damn, this shooting on Uncle Sam was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. You got to be grateful for that. Yes, you have to sit through mindless hour-long meetings about the family fun day or... Yeah, there's things that you have to do, but that's real life.
Yeah.
People that own businesses or ultra successful guys, they got to sit through meetings with the board members and deal with the egos of the different people. And
I'm going through my taxes right now for my company and stuff like that.
Oh,
getting it all ready. It's tax season.
Yeah, I know. I got to do mine too.
Sunday is my tax day. I was like, all right, Sunday I'm sitting down, I'm doing everything. Putting it all together and all that stuff. So
yeah, that's got to be difficult. Do you have a CPA or?
I've gone to one for advice. I don't have one like on
that you're going to go
call.
To with your
paperwork. What I'm gonna do it myself because this year it's pretty straightforward. I'm a what do you call it, a sole proprietorship. Sole proprietorship. It's just me.
Okay.
And it's basically like filing your own taxes, except you put in your losses as well.
Okay.
Because the money you made is the money I made throughout the year through the company and stuff like that. And then my losses are all my business expenses and shit like that.
So a business expense is a loss or
you look at it as a loss if at the end of the day you don't
have as much.
Yeah, if you're in the red.
Okay.
If you're in the red, then you lost money that year.
Right.
Which whatever. It's a growing company, it's beginning. It's just the beginning. So
yeah, but you got to give it time to catch.
There's different things you can write off, and there's different reasons to do. There's different types of businesses. You got your sole proprietorship, you got your LLC, you got your S corporation. There's like different kinds of, and that's why if you're people that are like looking at doing a small business or something like that, you definitely should go to a CPA. And I would also recommend a CPA that probably has their jurist degree as well. Like they've gone through law school, but they may not necessarily have taken the bar. They're not a lawyer, they're a CPA, but they've gone through law school.
Okay.
That means they have a background in that as well, because they can give you advice on your business structures and stuff like that, and your taxes, and just it all kind of comes together. So
yeah, because that shit gets complicated fast.
Yeah, and I've already sat down with one and done all that, so and kind of went over everything, and he's like, all right, this year you need to do this, next year you need to file this. Hit me up for this one document. I can take care of that.
Right.
Kind of deal. He was super cool. We were talking. Honestly, I think the dude had just like hit a big hit of Adderall or something right before I came in, because the dude was like super shaky, was like fidgeting the whole time, or he was bumping lines before I came in or something. But his kid is in the Navy. And I saw the kid's picture in the background when I came into his office, and I was like, "Oh, your son's in the Navy?" And I was like, "Yeah, I was in the Marines." I gotta throw that out there sometimes. And he ended up, that consultation gave it to me for free.
Like, that's awesome.
He didn't even charge me, so. But yeah.
Yeah, man. So Adderall, that's makes you think better?
It's supposed to for some people, but a lot of people take it. You hear about a lot of college students that take it, especially those that are in like engineering or math backgrounds, because there's so much like work. There's so much like to do some math problems are multiple pages of, stuff. And to just be able to do that, or computer programmers, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of tedious work.
And sticking to the process.
So they do Adderall because it gets them all fucking amped up. It's like legal meth, basically. It gets you all amped up. And you're like, yeah, I'll do this. Yeah. And you're like super productive.
Okay.
Apparently it's like I've never done it. I've never taken it. But apparently it's like huge on college campuses.
I've heard, I've read stuff, but I never.
A lot of industries use it. A lot of financial people use it. Like, people get prescriptions or they'll buy it illegally,
Yeah.
I think it's for ADHD is what it's for, I think.
Dude, I throw away about $120,000 worth of opiates.
Yeah?
Yeah, my dad.
Pillheads everywhere.
VA. So he was on the old program from the 70s. He got shot in Vietnam. He's on this old program where they mail him like super heavy pain drugs and stuff.
Oh, really?
And then, of course, when they came out with, what's the one that the opiates and stuff that everybody was hooked on for a while?
Oh, Oxycontin?
Yeah, Oxy. So he'd get like this high-end, like, because he like lost a lung, shoulder joint, his back, all this stuff. Shit. Yeah, he was all fucked up. He got hit with the 51 caliber anti-air gun.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Where at?
Through his shoulder. So it went through the canopy of the aircraft. It pinged
it was in an aircraft, too.
Yeah, he was a Cobra pilot.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It pinged off of one of the parts of the canopy, like one of the straps of bars, through his shoulder, and then out. The exit wound in the aircraft was probably 12, 14 inches. It was like that big.
Holy shit.
Went out, and when it went out, it took out his entire shoulder girdle, and his lung was obviously collapsed, crushed all his ribs on the left side.
That's about the best you could hope for coming away from getting shot with what'd you say, a 51 caliber fucking anti-air?
It's their version of a 50
anti-air gun. The Dishka. Was it a Dishka probably then?
You know what? He's got some slides if we ever get him back. We're going through the whole legal process with his soon-to-be ex-wife, but he's got slides because he's like taking pictures.
Yeah.
He's got slides right before he got shot of the gun run.
Oh, no way.
And he's taking pictures. He's got the camera running. Click, 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 click. He's like, he had a lot of cool pictures.
And then he got shot while he was taking the photos?
Or right thereafter.
Yeah.
And so he's got pictures, and then he's got, I think one of the other, I asked him one time, hey, did you get the guy that shot you? And he goes, well, we shot the area that he went into with flechettes and the minigun. So.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And then the guy was flying the Loach, or the little bird behind him, did a couple gun runs. Another buddy has. But anyways, he's got all this stuff.
Piles of pills.
Yes, and he saves it. He saves everything. So he might use one pill out of the bottle, but he's saving the rest.
Older generations are like that.
Yeah. I'm talking lawn and garden trash bags that you would, clean your yard with leaves and stuff. And in order to turn them in to the VA or wherever to have them disposed of, they got to all be out of the bottles without your information. I don't know what the rule is. My sister was dealing with all this. Anyway, so she has bags of them.
That's crazy.
And so I don't know that this stuff's supposed to go to the pill dump thing at the VA. Mm-hmm. So I'm cleaning her garage. And I'm bagging that stuff up with other trash bags. It's all going to the dump, right? And she's like, yeah, those pills, they go for like between $25 and $50 a piece. You could sell them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I just threw away huge trash bags full of thousands and thousands of those pills.
That's crazy.
And she's like, yeah, back in the old days, when they used to do that kind of stuff, they're like, yeah.
Some homeless person probably went through that. Now they're like ghetto rich.
Oh, yeah, they're
street
definitely.
Rock star fucking
Yep.
Slinging pills from your dad's old
driving
stash.
that Cadillac Seville, banging the bass.
Fuck, man.
Living out of a cardboard box. But yeah, that I was like, holy crap, I didn't know that. Those things go for like $25 a piece?
Yeah, I mean, I remember my ex got a tooth removed, and they gave her an entire bottle of Oxy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit. Because I had 4 wisdom teeth taken out in boot camp. Because, you know, if you don't have your wisdom teeth taken out, when you go to boot camp, they take them out for you.
Yeah.
So I had all 4 taken out in boot camp. And they gave me 2 painkillers. I don't even remember what they were. And then a bottle of Motrin. But I remember her like getting that whole bottle. And I only used one. I only ate one of the painkillers.
Yeah.
And then I saved the other one. I had it in my Foot Locker until after the Crucible. And then when we got back, you know, when you come back from the Crucible, you're just destroyed.
Yeah.
Like your entire body's destroyed.
Yeah.
And at that point, the drill instructor's like, all right, you guys, you know, you're basically there now. They let you come back from the Crucible. And they let you sleep. You know, they let you, it's like a time for you and the drill instructors to like recover.
Yeah.
And I just remember getting back to the squad bay. And as soon as they were like, hey, you guys can rack out or whatever, I fucking ate that pain pill and just
that's awesome.
Went into a coma until we got the. It was after the Warriors breakfast because you come back from the Crucible, you ate the Warriors breakfast, and then they'd let you go pass out.
So did you eat yours in the field? The Warriors breakfast?
No, we ate it at the chow when we got back.
Oh, okay. I never did the East Coast one. On the West Coast, you eat in the field. You're still in the field, and you eat the Warriors breakfast.
Yeah,
in
it's
these
different.
tents.
It's different for you guys though because, I mean, you do the Crucible up here in San Diego or up at Camp Pendleton.
Yeah.
But boot camp is down in San Diego.
Yeah, so you got to transit back down like the day after you turn all your gear in or whatever.
Yeah, we're right there. I mean, it's all you do all of it on.
From your original...
Have you ever been to Parris Island?
I've been there, but I haven't had time to walk around.
It's so small. Like, yeah, I was supposed to go to San Diego, but I chose Parris Island. My recruiter's like, they're not going to let you unless you're a legacy. And I was like, he's like, you got to write a letter. Like, he's like, just lie about it. He's like, just say that you want to go to Parris Island because your grandfather went there or some shit. He's like, just write a letter saying that's why you want to go. And I wanted to go because that's like the historic. Yeah. You know, I'm a nerd. You know, back in the day, I'm reading military. My dad was military. I watched military movies as a kid. I read all the military books.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
And Parris Island is the one you always hear about in like the old Marine books. You know, everybody.
Yeah, because everybody went to Parris Island.
Because that was Parris Island. Yeah, Parris Island was a spot. So I was like, dude, that's where like Chesty Pooler went. Like, oh, that's where I want to go, man. And so yeah, I requested to go there. Went to Parris Island for Indiana, a summer session.
On this side of the...
Yeah, Indiana is a San Diego.
San Diego. Oh, okay.
Because it's normally, which is weird because I always thought it was everyone west of the Mississippi goes to San Diego and everybody east of the Mississippi goes to Parris Island. But for some reason, Indiana, the Indianapolis district goes to Parris Island.
Yeah, it's probably by
San
numbers.
Diego.
You know, because they know how much each place can handle, can produce, or can throughput.
Yeah, I wouldn't change it. It was cool. I did not enjoy my time there, but it was...
No, there's bugs and crap.
I got the experience. That. You know, they always talk about sand fleas and shit, but I guess those are worse at their worst in the like spring and fall and wintertime because it's not as hot.
Okay, and it's
we were there in the summertime, so they said it was kind of too hot for them to be out. You'd catch them in the evening time sometimes.
Yeah.
But for the most part, we didn't really have to worry about them. It was the fire ants. The fucking fire ants, man. Everywhere. And you'd go to the PT field when they'd take you out to PT. I remember the first time we went to go PT, we were out there in this massive field. The whole company's out there. Might have been the whole battalion. I think it was the company. And, you know, they're like, everyone on your face, you know, get down for push-ups. So we get down, and I remember my hands being like fire ants just crawling over my hands. You know, because there's those little fire ant piles everywhere. Oh. And the series gunny was like, you fucking ate this morning, let them eat, push up. And we started.
Oh,
and
that's
these
awesome.
fucking things are just stinging you, you know? Yeah, the last night of the Crucible, or not the last night. It might have been, I think it might have been the first night, where they told me to drop my shit and like make my Iraq, the drill instructors did. I came back to it after we went and did something, and I lifted up my sleeping pad, and it was just completely covered in fire ants. And at first I thought they were going to make me sleep in this pile of fire ants.
Yeah.
And, you know, they obviously fucked around with me for a little bit, made me think I was going to, so. But then I eventually got to move. However, they just still stung all over my feet. My feet swelled up. Like,
oh, that sucks monkey balls.
Dude, the fire ants are bad out there. That shit sucks.
But that's what I tell, like my son, I tell him all the time. Charlie's in the bush, man. He's training. You're complaining about some fire ants.
Yeah.
You know,
we're soft, man. We're Americans.
Yeah.
We've been living the good life for too many years.
Yeah. Our ancestors have paid the dues.
Yeah, and now we're living such a good life that people can now complain about like shit that we would never even worried about back in the day.
Oh yeah,
and that's how you know that we have it so good is because we have time to worry about, what's his gender, what's this, what's that,
which
like,
bathroom to use. And
it's like stupid shit, man. It's like, okay, how good do we have it?
There's people that are still living hand to mouth.
Yeah,
you want to
living in agrarian societies.
Yeah, you want to change the world. There, you hippie, tree hugger, go do something for them.
Yeah.
How many homeless people you got living in your garage? All right, then stop talking to me about it.
Yeah, I just what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad, I'm grateful, but we need to be grateful and
people.
Also,
there's definitely not enough people that are grateful for the opportunities that are presented to them. And the other thing is people need to research their opportunities, what's actually available, because people have way more opportunities than I think they believe, and they just don't. I don't know.
Dumb people who are disappointed or what's it called when you don't think anything is ever good's going to ever happen to you? They're easier to control.
Yeah.
That's why they keep them like that. Keep them stupid. Keep them thinking that they're oppressed. That they're easier to control.
Need the government. The government's going to save them.
And I can tell you what to do. You just make sure I'm in power. You make sure I'm in power. I'll make sure that
I know what's best for you.
Yeah, I'll make sure you don't live like this anymore. You poor oppressed person. When in reality, that person's totally in charge of their own. They won the lottery by being born in the United States.
Yeah.
The life lottery.
Our poor people would be considered rich in a lot of countries.
Oh, hell yeah.
So, but anyway.
We have an obesity problem.
Well, we're over 3 hours, so let's cut it here.
Dude, we have to cut this off. People aren't going to listen to us.
2 hours is about the average time frame is what I've seen on my statistics when I've looked at the stats and stuff. 2 hours. So some people will make it this far. If you made it this far, let us know by sending me an email or something. J Kramer Graphics on Gmail. Or no, let me start over. Hit me up on J Kramer Graphics on my Instagram. And then you can also look up my backup page, which is Former Action Guys on Instagram. And then jkramergraphics.com is my website. Your Instagram is it Tracy _?
Oh, God, I'd have to look at it.
You know what? If you look at J Kramer Graphics, I put a post up. I put the preview video up I made for your very first podcast you did.
Okay.
As like hey, he's going to be back on, letting people know that you're recording today. So I tagged you in that so you can see. If you go to my page, you'll be able to see Tracy's Instagram link there as well. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on, and we'll have to do it again. Farrell's pissed. He's bummed that he didn't get to be here. He's out working. So.
Oh, he's working. That's good.
Yep, he's out working. I was like, sorry, dude. Nerd, go to work. We're going to sit here and record a podcast.
That's right. Hey, and no pot. No smoking pot at the smoke pit.
No smoking, yeah. Thanks for the questions, though.
No, that was great, man. I love that kind of stuff. Because it's a whole nother world. But we'll get into something else next time.
Cool. Well, have a good one.